Orange team.
Hey, everybody, I'm Mike.
I'm Bob.
I'm Tim.
I'm Galen.
Yes.
This is the Board Game Rundown, and welcome to another edition of Whiskey Wednesday. It's September 25th. As you can see, we're joined by a special guest. It is designer Galen McCown. Galen, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And it's going well. Pleasure to be here. Struggling with the allergies, but otherwise, life is good.
Yeah.
What's going for allergies? Whiskey.
Yeah.
That's what Granddad said, right? Yeah.
That's right.
That's it.
Grandpa's old cough medicine. Is that what we're sipping back on?
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. I see Brandon in the chat. I just want to say, Brandon, it's your fault that I sound like this because I was hanging out with you all night, like every night of QSCon.
Yep.
And
That's true.
yeah, so it's you and your wife's fault that I sound like crap. Just kidding. They were awesome. It was super fun. I had got to meet them in person and became very fast friends. It was awesome. But that's the great thing about conventions, right? And meetups and stuff like that.
Well, and for those of you that were at QSCon, you may recognize Galen. He had a booth there for his company, Galen's Games.
Mhm.
And, of course, we're going to talk about some of those today. That was our first time there, and it was an absolute blast. Just played constant games for 4 days straight. It was amazing.
Yeah, nonstop. I felt really bad because I realized I was talking to some people at a booth right next to Galen's booth, and I could not walk 5 feet to my right to go talk to Galen, even though I said hi to him like 5 times, but I never took the time to go over and talk to you. So again, I know I apologized already, but man,
No worries. And they were great folks, and that game they have is really cool too.
it's super fun. Yeah.
That was one of the better quick demos I've ever actually been a part of. I think they sold me right away, so that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah. It was fun. I tried to get the guys to go over and look at it, but they were too stuck up. I mean, busy to go say hi.
Yeah. Correct. Definitely stuck up. We'll say hi, Nikki and Brandon. It was great hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
It was
The
a
tumbling
blast.
dice until 4 in the morning.
Oh my! Tumbling
3 or 4 in the
dice
morning.
until the wee hours.
I mean, if you're doing it right, that's how you do it. I want you to know Saturday night, I went undefeated.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
The whole
Well, you had
night.
3 days of practice. I felt bad because Luke was saying he wanted to play with us, but then his game was running long and it was like 2:30, and it's like,
Dude, Googs was in that game until we stopped playing tumbling dice, started playing a domino game called Tiger and the Dragon. And that was at 4:00 in the morning when I gave up. And then I started cleaning up to go back up to the room so I could get like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I find it ironic that Tim went undefeated after I was done playing. How does that work, Tim?
Conveniently, that's how that works.
I beat your ass when you played too that night.
Who, me?
What? I don't know about all that.
Yeah,
It's
I remember you
in-
beating up a Mike. That was funny.
It's in my BGG stats. I got you,
I'm gonna
bro.
have to
Oh, it
double
counts, it's
check you
official.
on that.
I'm ignorant. Give me the 10 seconds on tumbling dice. What is it?
Ooh. We
Go
just
ahead, Tim.
learned about this.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the guy with the shit voice. Okay.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Okay.
So it's like a dice game where you're flicking dice off this little platform down like this wooden tiered board, and the
Okay.
board has like a negative spot and then multipliers as it goes down, and there's pegs and the areas will get smaller. That's the kind of not so pretty remake version of it. They got rid of the negative. That's the old, well, closer to the older version. There's still no negative space on there. But yeah, you're just trying to get your die to land on those platforms, and you multiply the pips by the number, and you're going to get points for it. There you go. And so we were playing it in teams, and it was a lot of fun. So you're just trying to knock everybody's dice off of there without yours flying off the end. We had to set up a backboard, though, because Reed was a madman on that thing. He was the Canadian assassin, taking everybody's dice out. So
Dave beat us, but that was Friday night, not
Friday.
Saturday night.
Tim says it doesn't count.
Doesn't count. I was undefeated Saturday night.
Yeah, okay.
Technically, Dave's game might have been Saturday morning
Right.
because we were playing so late Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dave came in and crushed it. It's not
Thank
even
you for
fair.
calling him out.
Yeah, shut up.
He needs that once in a while. Keep him humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a game that I had never even heard of before, and then
Same.
somebody busted it out, and it's like, yeah, this looks fun. And then it was our nightcap every day, every night of QSCon,
Yep.
and we just had like a crowd around cheering on games and stuff. It was hilarious. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
It looks like the perfect late night game. The later it gets, you know, you can't save the brain for it, but you can save enough dexterity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing with Mike Pitry and Will. I don't remember Will's last name, but I think he works with.
Escrow. Yeah.
I think he works with Googs at 3WS, right, or something like that.
Very good friends. I'm not sure if he works for him or not, but I'm
Fair
assuming.
enough.
Yeah, tall Will with the glasses. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Will
sir.
Escrow, yeah.
And then his friend Googs' friend Steven, who has like crazy hair.
Yeah.
And man, they were trashed. I was level. I was level. They were trashed. But it was so much fun, like the level of trash talking. You know what I mean? It was just like to play a game with guys that I really just kind of met, but everybody is just talking like the worst trash to each other, but we're all having the best time because it's so much fun. If you didn't know, you would have thought like these guys are going to kill each other. You know what I mean? But it was instead actually our love language. It was the best.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Totally feel that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, nice.
Thank you, sir.
So that's probably a pretty good segue. So Galen picked our topic tonight, as we always let our guests do. And he picked pros and cons of small box games. And that's because, sir, you have a series of Mint Tin games coming up.
Yes. October 22nd, I will be running a Kickstarter. There's going to be 4 Mint Tin games. They're all going to be 2-player games. Yeah, there they are. Each one's also going to have solo mode. Kind of the concept behind these is learn in 5 minutes, play in 20 minutes. They just showed up. Yet Tim's holding up the camera there as well. So yeah, very excited about these ones. You can see the pricing structure I'm going to be doing. This Kickstarter, I'm focusing really on just doing the best price, not a lot of stretch goals. Afterwards they're going to be 15 a piece. So yeah, we've got we can do the 20 seconds on each one. Dice Clash is there's the camera. 1 to 2 player dueling dice game. So in this game you have a warrior and a grid, and each grid might impact the defense value, attack value, or face of your die. And it's a very simple system where each placement is going to be both your attack and defense. So if your attack value is a 5, you have to come up with a defense that's higher than that. But it has a system where everything 6 or higher you can parry with a 1, which is weak, but it keeps you in the game. When you place your white dice, kind of Falling Sky style, you get to reroll the rest of your pool. And the red die activates your character's unique powers. Like a lot of my games, when you lose, you flip to the other side. You can see the other side of the Spartan right there, and you become enraged. So that's Dice Clash. Keep scrolling down there. That's the how to play for Dice Clash. Yeah, and then it's Mint Tin Monster Mashup. Oh, the last one I should say, the art is by Hua Xiang, who's the same guy who did the art for Super Snipers. And I absolutely love his art style and love working with him. He's
tight, dude.
Yeah, he's
Speaking of art styles I love, I already know that this one here is Mr. John DeCampos. I love that man's art style.
He's the best, yeah. So art by John DeCampos for this one, exactly. John and I have known each other for a bit in the land of game design. He was actually, my first published game was creating a little solo game for one of his token tears there. So I did First Hunt, the solo game that came with the Elf minis, and that was just a really neat challenge. Speaking about small box games, thank you for showing those, Tim. Yes, Mint Tin Monster Mashup. Your mad scientists smashing together creatures. So there's a deck of 24 cards. They have fronts and backs. You push them together and it creates the creature's stats, but it also makes an if-then power that can be activated. You're rolling 2d6s, you're spending energy, you're using your abilities to mitigate those die. And then I think is what's neat about the combat of the game, you then go to kind of a rock, paper, scissors. 1, 2, 3. You're either flashing a number, which is how much energy you're going to spend to increase your result, or you're defending, which is going to you're conceding the round, but you're only taking half damage and you're getting some energy back based on your creature's intelligence. Or you can slam the table and make everybody re-roll. But if you panic button and I defend, you lose immediately. So there's always
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. That you're never completely out, and there's a bit of a head game there. So that one's fun. A lot of really cool art. Again, it's got the whole thing where the round after you lose, you flip your guy over, and you got a slightly better power. I'm big on catching in the game. So design of this one is Chris Baki, and I did the development on it. Dice Clash was myself, and I had some co-designers on that as well, Jonathan Parnell and Ryan Stromek of Crossbow Game, which I'll probably talk about later as we're talking about small box games.
That one sounds really cool. And of course, I love the look.
Yeah, well, I hope you get to play it soon. Yeah, it does. It's a lot of fun. Everybody sees it and they just want to play with the cards. That's one of my favorite things to do on the convention is if you're dragging around a kid, I just say, hey, do you want to make my next monster? And then the kid's busy for all the time I need to talk to. Perfectly happy to do that, which is fun. So. Thanks, Nikki. This next one is Heritage Farms. This is a design of mine. So it's funny. So, I was showing these at Gen Con, showing these at QSCon, with a couple other events where I had a table. And this conversation that I'm about to have goes the same way 99% of the time. I'll say, do you know the chicken, fox, and corn riddle? And they'll say no. And I'll explain it. And as I get 2 seconds in, they go, oh, yeah. So there's the riddle I remember from being a kid where a farmer has chicken, a fox, and corn, and he has a boat that can only fit himself in one at a time, and he's got to get him across the river, right? So the riddle is about how many trips back and forth he has to take because the fox will eat the chicken will eat the corn. So I made a game about this. We're both chicken, fox, corn farmers. I've got to get my stuff across the river to the markets connected to your farms, and you've got to do the opposite, right? And so we're moving pieces back and forth. If you get 2 sets of chicken, fox, and corn across the river onto your markets, you win. But the thing is, just like the riddle, nature's law takes place. So if there are ever no farmers on a card at all, then the chickens are going to eat all the corn and the foxes are going to eat the chickens. This one also has an advanced mode where you can add zombie chickens or poison corn. Zombie chickens go around wherever they go, they infect the other chickens, right? You flip over the cube to the zombie side, and now they eat the foxes when they're left alone, and it makes it a really, really tight little strategy game. So. Yeah, that's Heritage Farms. And there's one more. I've got 4. All right, and this last one is Verdant, Arizona. This is designed by Robin David, Irish designer, currently based out of Germany. This was the game I had to do the least development on because it was just kind of done. Very few small changes. This one's great. So in this game, I guess we're both cacti enthusiasts, and we're trying to build the best possible cactus farm. In the middle there, that 3x3 grid you see is the market, and there's that little red truck. And you're moving that truck 2 spaces at a time, kind of like a roadway, right? You're going through the roadways. Tim showing off kind of what the rule books look like. Everything's very simple. That's as we talk about pros and cons, I think that's one of the beauty of small box games, assuming you do put the rule book in there, is the rules have to fit. So the game can't be too complex. You move your truck 2 spaces, you pick up a card, and the cards you're picking up, you can see on the bottom of it that you're kind of building a 4x4 grid little by little. You're trying to get rows and columns, ascending or descending order. Those add extra points to columns that score. What's neat about the game is as you pick up the cards are replaced face down in the grid, and wherever I end my turn is where you start yours. So if you're fans of games like Patchwork, where the drafting mechanism is very cutthroat, this is a very cutthroat drafting mechanism. When you're really playing the game, you're watching what the other player's doing. Additionally, at the start of your turn, if you can't get to a face-up card in 2 moves, you get to flip all the face-down ones, and that's a huge advantage. So timing that to happen on your turn is really a lot of what the game hinges on. So yeah, those are the games, and like I said, they're all 4 coming to Kickstarter next month, 22nd of October. Yeah.
Again,
these
link in the description.
Yes, these all look and sound very, very distinct and unique from each other.
Yeah. I think the tying thread is 2-player games, which is kind of what I focus on as a publisher. Solo modes is very important to me. I have them kind of bundled in the strategy, the Heritage Farms and Verdant, or the strategy bundle, and then Dice Clash and Mint 10 Monster Mashup are your battle bundle. So a little bit more head to head. So a little bit more trashy with the dice, which I like too. And then Heritage Farms and Verdant, Arizona are both pretty pure strategy games.
I got to get a close up here of John's art. I just love his style.
He was so fun to work with this. Well, him and Wah both. With both of them, I am not an artist. I am definitely a creative type, but I'm not an artist. And what I really need is somebody to kind of take my vision, bring it to life, but make it better. And both of them do that, right? Like I gave him the most basic instructions on the doctor, for instance. I said, I've got a Dr. Love, a Dr. Death, a Dr. Deranged, and Dr. Chaos, and he just kind of John went with it, right? He just created his own stories and had a lot of fun with it. He also talked me into the initial game I was pitched was just regular creatures, so it'd be like cardinals and sharks and bears, things like that, and you'd just be smashing them together, which was cool enough. And he said, "That's all right, but can't we have some more fantastical, crazy, wild, out there stuff?" Like, and I could tell he was like, kind of like a little bummed that he was just gonna have to draw a cardinal. So he talked me into it, right? Yeah, here's one of the mad scientists. That's your solo opponent, Dr. Entropy. There, yep.
Nice.
Yeah, he did a killer job with them. I love the back of this.
We've had John on our live show, and we've had a chance to cover Black Mold and Valka, which were both pretty solid games. And yeah, his style is just great. But yeah, these all look really cool. Definitely love a good small box. Box game for sure.
Me too.
I would hope so.
All right, so you design, but then we started talking to you about all the other talents that you have. You're in 2 different bands?
Yeah, yep. I'm in 2 different bands. Been playing. I think I started playing guitar at 17. I'm turning 48 next month. It's funny too. At the time, it felt like everybody I knew who was amazing had started when they were 5 or 6. And it's just like, it's too late. I'll never be good. I'll learn to strum. But the thing is, if you stick with anything and you keep doing it and you live long enough, you get pretty good at it. So yeah, musician. My money-making job, I'm a psychotherapist. I mostly focus on trauma work. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Yeah. And, of course, game design and game development. And I'm trying to – I think I can't add anything else. I've definitely been other things in my life as well, but those are the current ones.
Right on.
Well, you already got more creative juice in your left thumbnail than the 3 of us combined. So
Facts. As we like to say now here at the show, those who can't critique.
Well, we already apologized to Galen before the show that we hadn't played Super Snipers yet, but we will make sure that happens before PAX. We'll get some coverage out for that one.
100%.
But obviously, we want to help you get some extra follows for this Kickstarter for sure.
Always appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, those 3 people, that's what we call the rundown bump. Hopefully it's more than that. Hopefully it's 1 per game for sale.
Oh man, look at all these cards by John though.
Yeah, I mean there's just so much art. Every one of those half cards has a front and back.
So Galen, not gonna lie, I got home, made myself dinner, and as I'm eating, I opened up the box because I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And the monster mashup was the first one I opened and had to look through every freaking card because I knew it was John's art.
Yep.
And also, it's just I love monsters and horror stuff anyways. And it looks I can't wait to play it. So
Dave, no, sorry to mislead. One of these years, just not this one.
Galen might be there though. Galen, you gonna be there?
I will be there. I don't have the booth number yet, but I'll be splitting with the Aegis Combining Robots guys, Breeze there.
Right,
so I'll be on the vendor floor.
You were with them at Gen Con, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I met him. Well, I met him online, and we'd done some rulebook editing for each other, and then I met him in person last PAX U, and he made the offer for the Gen Con thing, which was amazing because, as anybody will tell you, otherwise it's kind of hard getting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He seemed like a good dude, man. He seemed pretty good.
Breeze is
a little
Breeze
bit,
is super cool. Yeah. He's amazing.
It's always tough because when I go around to booths at Gen Con, as like a reviewer, I try to not be like, oh, hi, I'm a reviewer. Give me stuff. Because that feels sleazy. But sometimes people are like, oh, you're a reviewer. Do you want something? And,
Yep.
Then I might. Or if it's already prearranged or I've talked to you ahead of time, it feels different, then. But I got to talk to him a little bit and I thought his stuff sounded really interesting. But I never got around to that, awkward, hey, I'm a reviewer. Do you want some coverage part of it? But no, it looked really cool. So definitely when you go to PAX, you go for Galen and then you stay for their booth and check their stuff out.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, I'm a massive fan of everything Mechs, and he's made probably more in the Gundam Voltron kind of idea, but he's made a mech game where you have all the little ones, but you can combine them into bigger robots, and it's just it is definitely a passion project and a work of art, and some very cool art in that as well. So
and some unique stuff in it too. I thought that was pretty cool. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hey, there's that sellout. That's your other neighbor.
Yeah.
Sellouts.
Yeah.
So it just right. Well, so sellouts. And they just the quick pitch for that one. You have the demo, you grab a card and it's a random problem that you have, right? And so the one I picked out was your butter's too cold and it's tearing up your toast, which is, a legit problem. It happens. And then they have to draw 2 cards, which are, I forget exactly what they call them, but products that they're going to try to sell to you for $1. They got to combine the 2 to make a product that's going to solve your problem. So one of them had a robot, which sounded okay, but it was also a robot that knew all my deepest, darkest secrets. And the other person had a dragon that worked remotely, I think. And then after they have the 2 that they get to think about, they have to pull a random feature and they have to add it to it and still try to sell you on it. So this robot not only knew my deepest, darkest secrets, but it was like a crime solver, which I felt maybe like I was guilty if I didn't buy from her. But anyway, so nice. Stuff like that. He's got the cards right there. So I just thought I was laughing during the demo. I can't wait to bring it to family Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be a really. I'm not always a huge party game person, but this one seemed like a lot of fun. So.
I don't know if you know Donnie Coleman.
Yep.
Yeah. So Donnie grabbed me and was like, "Hey, you need to come over and see their game because we like to."
He is.
We like to play these kind of games. There's my tumbling dice guy right there.
Yeah.
Mad trash talker. It was a good time.
You missed it. We were just talking about that.
Oh, it was a good time, man. It was the best time.
I had a very tipsy Saturday night, and Michael started that off.
There you go. Well, he finished it with me. I can tell you that.
Well, they were walking around with that handle of captain. So, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, but I talked to them a lot, and not on top of just being like some cool people to meet and talk to, like you said, Galen, it was pretty funny. The demo was fun. We had a good laugh, and I was into it. So I can't wait to play like the full version, but it was good.
Yeah, me too.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually met Mike earlier in the day at the flea market because he had a table across kind of from me and West. And I went over and bought some games from him. And then he's like, oh, yeah, On the Rocks was one of the when I was first got into collecting board games, someone gave that to me. And my in-laws gave that to me as a gift, played it, and they loved it. And we liked it, but they loved it. And so I'm like, you know what? Like, you guys keep this at your house because I will always get to play with it. Don't get rid of it. If you get rid of it, give it back to me.
Yeah.
But they loved it so much. It's like, well, okay, you're going to play it more than I will because I've got too many freaking games and they don't have the problem that I have, so as you can see behind me. So yeah, man, it was kind of funny because it's like, I know that game.
Games, I can't sit and talk where they are.
No, totally fair.
Got to figure that out at some point, but yeah, that's it.
Well, if I was not down here, you would have like a dog and a kid or two, and then my wife like silently gesturing, like, hey, did you change the laundry over?
Yeah.
Don't get canceled.
The story about your family, though, it just sometimes I miss that innocence of enjoying a game, getting deep into it, and then like hey, this is the only game in the world. This is just what we play. It's that time again.
Yeah,
we're gonna play Taboo again because that's the game or whatever. I kind of miss that because all I do now is new game.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about QsCon was that, like, I mean, I played a bunch of new to me games, but I played a bunch of classics that I'd never played, like Hansa Teutonica and stuff like that. Which, I mean, but like all kinds of games that other people love, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna sit and play your games, it's very cool. But with having a channel and stuff, I know Boohoo, it's like, oh, new game, and it's hard sometimes to get back to some of the other ones. I know it's a terrible problem to have, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but because I get to sit here and not only like hang out with Mike and Bob, who are two, just my favorite people, don't tell them, but I also get to hang out with designers and stuff, and like meet other super cool and immensely talented people, which I'm not at all jealous of. So screw you for being so talented.
It does seem awesome. It is a trade-off. As I got deeper into it, definitely once I started in the self-publishing thing, but the designing thing, I do way more play testing of unpublished games than playing of actual games. Like way more. Like that is most of my time.
But isn't that kind of fun though? Like
it's a ton of fun. Like you said, it's a good problem to have. And at the same time, sometimes I'm like, I wish I got a chance to play more games. I always kickstart stuff, and it's like I gotta play it. I usually play it once. That's typically what happens.
What the secret is I've got a group of friends, and they don't play like any board games except for like Catchphrase and stuff like that. So I'll go over to their house and play those games, and I kind of scratch that, way old school game itch.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll break out like a Rhino Hero or something, and just to change it up because they don't want too many rules, but they just want something they can like have some drinks and we can yell at each other, which is why I got to get Tumbling Dice like for myself.
Right. Oh, they'll love that.
I know.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Friday I was sitting there with some designer friends, and it was just prototype day, and they were all just busting out different prototypes they have, and we were playing them and checking them out, and that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that. And then we play a game for a couple of rounds, like let's try this rule, implement that rule, play it for a couple of rounds, see how it feels. Okay, well, let's change it to this, change the rule a little bit more, play a couple more rounds, see how it feels, and like that was great. Like
see, if you love that, you're the kind of people we need, right? Not everybody's a play tester.
Sure.
Oh yeah, some people are like, you can't change the rules. I need these.
No, I love it. Yeah.
My wife's like that. I can't. It's she won't play the games till they're done. It's so funny. I'll say, do you want to try it? She'll always ask, is it done? I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure. No, come to me. You teach me a game, and then you later say the rules changed. I'm never playing.
Another funny thing is, so we just did a video for a friend of the show, Max Michael. He did a World War II 8th Air Force commander, and he kind of taught me the game, and then like before we got on camera, and then we did like a playthrough with him, and then he started playing things wrong, and I would stop him like, well, isn't that supposed to be like this? Like, oh yeah, we changed that, and then I said, you should never learn a game from a designer because they don't know where the game ended up in the final development stages and stuff. It was so funny.
Yeah, Max is a cool dude. No, but it's like my thing is like cookie dough, for example. Cookies, they're better either raw or like fresh out of the oven where they're still kind of half baked. And it's like that with board games sometimes. It's like you want to get in there and like mold it a little bit, and have some fun. Have some fun and tinker with it. Oh, Bob showing Winston off.
I hate to say this. I like that comparison, Tim. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
it is fun, and also I'm sure it's happened to you guys. And I still, even though I am a designer, I totally get a kick out of it when, the game shows up and I open up the rule book and there's my name as a play tester or something. Like it's just cool. It's neat to be part of the process, or play something and say like, I was there when it used to be this other way, and now
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
And the thing is both are right. Like so, Cybermesh here, they want the games. Because they want to know if they're going to like it, know. And I definitely don't mind it if stuff is a little wild And, but because the other thing is that if you're playing a game and you're like, well, this rule really sucks, and then you're miserable because you're locked into it the whole time. But if you're in that play testy, designing stage, that's the time to go, hey guys, I'm really struggling with this rule. Can you at least tell me why it's here? And so maybe I'm wrong, or if enough people all kind of agree, maybe it's got to go and we got to do something else with it.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And I think being able to, those experience you had, Bob, it's probably some seasoned designers. I think early on, I didn't know how to do that pivot in the middle thing. It was just like, well, that's trash. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Right. Let me think about it.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you can kind of okay, let's try this. Let's make this move right now and see what kind of difference it makes. And that's always really cool.
Hey, it's not con crud, Dave. I lose my voice if I go to a football game, which I go to a couple a year. I lose my voice. If I go to a convention, I lose my voice. I got this. I order these lozenges from England called Vocal Zone.
Okay,
they're like for heavy metal singers, and it's sort of like taking meds the right way, where you have to preemptively take them. And then kind of, so if I start off and if I'm taking them, I'm good and I'll make it through the whole show without losing my voice. The problem is I had an 8.5 hour, on the way there, because we took a detour. I don't know if you know West, Todd, but West and I rode together. It was like a 10-hour car ride in, and we talked the whole time, and I didn't take any of my cough drops. And then get to the show, talk nonstop, up till 2, 3 a.m., rinse, repeat. And so by then I was already behind,
Wait, you talked in the car ride?
I know it's weird, right?
Also,
we had a push-up. This is how wild Tumbling Dice got, is we started doing push-ups.
oh my God.
Wow.
Well, now your arms are going to be sore because you just pulled landscaping duty. Well, also, Tim is incapable of speaking at any volume below 8 out of 10. So there's that as well.
That's the Irish in me. Can't help it.
Little
and loud.
So we do got to transition from Galen's small games to our pros and cons of small games. But I do actually want to talk real quick about what we're drinking, because I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
Galen, I see a bottle behind you. What are you drinking, buddy?
So I'm drinking, this is one of my favorite sipping whiskeys. I like bourbon, but Irish whiskey is what I like the best. And this is the Jameson Black Barrel, which is just tasty, just smooth and delicious. Yeah.
I do enjoy Jameson, and I'm kind of sad that I've never tried the Black Barrel. So
totally worth it. Next time you're at a bar that they have it, get one. It's a very good sipping whiskey.
I will look for it.
Yep.
All right, I'll go ahead and show off my New York whiskey. So last week we were drinking on Iron Smoke at the Collegian, the venue of HughesCon. This week I'm drinking Black Button Distillery, and this is distilled in I thought it was Buffalo. Nope, Rochester. So this is brewed in Rochester, which, by the way, we stopped at on the way back because we went to Millennium Games on the way back. Holy shit. The place is gigantic. Never seen anything quite like it. But it was pretty awesome.
Well, I'm still sipping on some Makers, but I got a fancy new decanter for my birthday.
Very cool.
That decanter. Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
Makers is classic too. Good stuff.
It is a favorite.
This bottle is going to go fast, but this is the one that Jim Cole gave me from Texas. It's Blackland Rye whiskey. And it's really smooth. My voice would tell you that, right? It's like it sounded normal before I started drinking it. This are really good. It's really good. I
haven't tried many rye whiskeys.
Me neither, but because usually I just buy bourbons, and it's I go with what I like, and I just know that. Not broke, don't fix it. Yeah. But if somebody hands you a bottle of whiskey, it's like, well, I'm gonna drink that. I'm gonna drink that.
Yep.
Because guess what? I can get through a bottle of whiskey even if I don't like it.
Sure.
One Wednesday at a time. Just
well, Speaking of small box games, though, Parakeet Griffin's game is launched on Kickstarter, and it's a relatively small box game. And you guys should be checking that out because that's a blast.
Of course.
What is it?
So it's called Fairy Tale Campaign Trail.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's some hilarious shenanigans of us playing it online.
So it's kind of like if you think about if you like the sellouts, right? It's a similar mechanic as in it's a judge mechanic game, but what sets this one apart is everybody is running for like mayor of this fantasy village, and so there'll be a card that'll come up, and that's the problem that the village is having, and everyone is basically campaigning to fix this problem. And you're going to have a hand of cards, and you're going to play one of those cards, and that's you're going to have to build your whole argument based off of that card. So it could be like bee grenades, you know what I mean, or something like that.
And then there's like another card. Yeah, go ahead.
And then there's another card that'll come out, and that's the a modifier card. And so it might be like you have to present your argument with an accent, or you have to do.
Okay.
So you have to. So these modifiers, they twist it, they turn it, they make it. You like one of the worst ones for me is you have to finish every sentence as if it was a question. So like you're trying to make this whole argument, and then you're like, I think, you know, like.
Like a question. Do I know what a question is?
Yeah. So really fun game, and I'm a big fan of the game, and I'm a bigger fan of the people behind it. They're just a great group of people behind it, and super fun. Andrew, I don't have the Tim card. I wish I did. They put a card. They came to town to hang out with us, and they made a card and put my face on it. And the problem was my internet.
Which used to be a very big problem.
So bad. It was always, and then Tim would freeze up, and he had to go feed his hamster, and then he'd come back, and it would work again. Yeah.
Stop it, Bob! You're going to get us canceled by PETA.
No, I thought he feeds it. He feeds it, so it's good.
Yeah,
that's
internet hamster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so small box games, pros and cons. Galen, since you came up with this, why don't you go ahead and talk us through like your decision making of coming up with this list?
Sure. So when I was thinking about this list, a couple of things. I am thinking about small box in general. I am more specifically thinking about mint tins, just because that's the world I've dove into lately. Exactly. I think for my list, I do have some that are about the consumer player side of it, you know, what I like as a purchaser of games, but I'm also, some of these are coming at it from the lens of being a publisher, being a designer, and also just kind of the accessibility for the indie community kind of stuff that comes along with small box games. So that's how I'm thinking about it.
I got a question, because I know we're about to dive in this list, but you just brought it up and I really want to know, do you feel like getting, and maybe you'll know it, you can tell us after next month, but do you think getting the smaller box games published is easier?
So far, yes.
Okay.
That's the idea. I think yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can definitely talk about that as we
there's definitely a market for it. I mean, for sure, there's a big market for it. But anyways, I don't want to derail the list. Just popped into my head. I wanted to say something because I love industry stuff. You know, like okay. I like Inside Baseball. I like how the sausage is made. You know.
Oh, okay. Happy to talk about it then. Cool.
Yeah. So I love that shit, man. I live for it. So.
Mm-hmm. You'll also notice, as an ode to your upcoming Mint 10 games, the list was called small games, not small box games. I left that box word out of there for you, sir.
I appreciate that.
Small tin games.
Yeah. But we're all big fans of small games. Small games, great games come in all shapes and sizes. But it'll be interesting to talk about some of these cons of them, which we don't talk about as much. Mm-hmm. And so so the way we're going to do this is, of course, we go 5-1, build the suspense up to 1, and on your turn, drop both of your 5s, I'm probably going to start with my con first, because get the bad news out of the way first, I guess, is my theory.
See, I built my list to go the opposite way, but that's fine. I'm gonna say my pro first and then my con.
Hey,
Same.
you do what works for you.
Same.
Just make sure you tell us which one's which.
I'm leading with the carrot and then hitting you with the stick.
Yeah.
Okay, so naturally, even though I let my dog out before the stream, she has to go out after we start the stream because that's what she does. But we'll start with Bob and come back to me. So I'll get Bob set up for his number 5, and I'll be right back.
All right. So my number 5 pro is there's a wide selection. There's so many like different games to choose from with like different flavors and themes and mechanisms involved. Like it doesn't really matter like what you're into. You're gonna find something that'll appeal to you. I feel like if you look, it's out there. But by that same note, my con is there's too many because it makes it hard to choose which one do I pick up. It's like, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. It's like there's so many of them out there, it makes it hard to choose. So that's kind of my pro and con. Number 5 is that while yes, there are so many to choose from, you just don't know which one to choose sometimes because you do have to try to pick a flavor that appeals to you. So that's my
Pablo. This is a great reason. I'm a big guy with tiny hands, so I'm on board with this theory.
Yeah. The great thing for Mike is it does make other things look big, including mint-tin games, especially games, game components. That's what I was referring to. You dirty minds. All right. So my big pro right here, right? Because I got all these shelves and they're all full of regular to large.
Did Bob do his pro and con?
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
Yeah,
sorry, just checking. All right.
Yeah, you're slow.
Lots of games, too many games.
Too many games, right? Not enough shelf space. So the size of these games,
good one.
Too big, right? So the small games, I can fit more on my shelves, which helps because then I don't have to go to my wife as often and be like, hey, I need more shelves for games. And she's like, no, you need fewer games. Incorrect. I need, so if I get smaller games, fit more on the shelves. Mm-hmm. My big con though, is the box size. They're so small. They don't stack always nicely on shelves. So like my collection back here, is roughly alphabetized. Oof. Roughly like A's ish in this area and B's and some don't fit. So there's a little overlap depending on what's where. But then I've got a bunch of like smaller shelves and I put all my small box games in there, right? And my smaller games in there. So, which is awesome because I have a ton of really small games and they're awesome and they're badass. They're in those little shelves and they don't stack as neatly. I'm not like super OCD, but I do like presenting like, a collection. And it's tougher to do sometimes with those smaller games. So that's my my number 5 pro and con.
Okay. So swinging around to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So yeah, my number 5 pro is that I think they're very inviting to non-gamers and new gamers. I think when you see a small box, there's an assumption that you can handle it, right? Like there's something about the big box that looks fun, but that looks like way too much for me. And
I know people that would shut down at the sight of a coffin box, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. And so the little tins, whether it's true or not, or the small boxes tend to be very inviting, and a lot of them are. A lot of my favorite when we talk about kind of go-to games to introduce people to, a lot of them are small box games because it's just, hey, how about we try this? And again, everybody looks and they say, what could possibly be in there? I can handle this. So I think that is great. That's my number 5 pro. In terms of the number 5 con, and this also is not universal to all small box games, but I think there's a larger tendency for the small box games and the mint-tin games to kind of offload things, offload things like rule books, right? Like, hey, here's our rule book, it's a QR code, right? And now that whole promise of you're going to fit the rule book in there. And I get it why people do it, and it's not always bad, but sometimes what you thought was going to be a small experience is huge, and you got to bring the computer into things, or they offload, kind of, stories or different things that you're supposed to download or print
I
out.
hate reading rule books on my phone if I don't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, I think, the ones that do that, that's my number 5 for the cons.
Yeah, it's really weird that all of these Mint 10 games all have QR codes just to take care of the rules. It's kind of bullshit. Just kidding.
There's QR codes and videos. They all have rule books.
They do. They do all have rule books. Full disclosure, they all have rule books, and they all fit nicely in the tin.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And that is sometimes the con of being a content creator is that we get prototypes that don't have rule books with them, and we are literally looking at the PDF on our phones
or the current rule
ideal.
book. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will forgive it if it's like, hey, we updated a bunch of the rules in a prototype. I will 1,000,000%. I won't bitch about that. But to hide the rule book, it's what I hate that video games do now. Because I used to buy like a Nintendo game or even a PlayStation game. It's like, oh, here's how to play it. There's no rule books anymore. There's barely even tutorials half the time.
Yeah. And then not to derail the conversation.
Pretty good compared to what we used to get.
Way agree.
The onboarding that they do in video games is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wish you could do that. I mean, some people do it well in board game space, but it's much more challenging.
Yeah.
Jaws of the Lion did a good job of that, kind of onboarding. Yeah.
I feel like video games should be like, oh, you haven't logged in 2 months. Would you like a refresher on the controls?
And
yes, I would. That would be really nice, but they don't do that.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Call it adult mode, right? Oh, I played this game for a while when I first came out, but then life happens, and then I go back 2-3 months later. I like to pick it up and play again, but I forget how to do all the buttons and controls. How about a refresher on that?
Hey, does anybody else want to tell Andrew that he misspelled Galen's games?
I do think All Play makes great stuff. I think
they do.
Oink Games, honestly, Oink Games is doing the coolest shit.
Dude, Oink.
That's my number 1.
So I said that I was playing a domino style game, Tiger and Dragon, with Michael and and Will and some of his friends at the end of the night. And that Tiger and Dragon game was awesome. I'm like, what game is that? Where can I get it? And Mike sent me the link. It's Oink Games. And I'm like, dang, there's like 10 games on this site I gotta buy now, you bastard. Yeah, they're all really good.
I haven't played a bad one.
Indeed.
They do great.
I have yet to. Deep Sea Adventure. I played that for the first time. That's one of them.
I haven't played that one. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's super fun.
That was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I lost, so it sucked. No, I'm just kidding.
Game sucks.
All right, Rice.
All right, my number 5. Like I said, I'll get the bad news out of the way first. So I'll start with my con. All of my cons will have a theme. It is limitations, very specific limitations that small packages provide. And so my number 5 is board sizes or the lack of a board. We talk about board games specifically, and we often call them that. And small box games either have small boards or no board at all. So that can be a con. My pro, I think, is something that doesn't get talked about really hardly at all. And that is that by producing less, you produce less waste, less punch boards, less plastic wrapping that just gets thrown away. Maybe this is not something that we necessarily have to worry about in our lifetime, but the reason I love to road trip and go and see this beautiful earth, I would like to preserve it to some extent. So we often forget about the consequences of waste, but the more we produce, the more we're producing to waste. This also means no wasted space on box size. So compare Splendor Duel to base Splendor. There's a perfect example. They could have put Splendor in a smaller box, but they got to increase that shelf appeal. But we forget about waste, but in small boxes, less is wasted.
That's fair.
Yep, can't argue that. Even though I am a child of the 80s and I'm used to like McDonald's sandwiches coming in like styrofoam containers.
You'd have to flip together.
Yeah, and they probably are still intact, like they don't even look aged in some landfill right now.
Neither does the burger inside.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I want stuff that lasts, Mike.
That's right.
I like things lasting as well, but smaller things can also last.
That's
You
what he
missed my
has on his
point.
dating profile. But
Smaller things can also laugh.
I mean, Mike's talking about a small package, and it's like all you think about are just all these jokes that I want to rip off. Number 4, Mike.
I'm not even going to bother apologizing to Galen. He knows what's up.
You got it.
Yeah, we already ripped on my baby hand, so let's go to number 4.
Trying to get my bifocal so I can see how many fingers you were holding up there. All right.
Well done.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
All right. So, anyways, my number 4 pro is that with all these games being small, it makes them easy to carry and take to conventions. Like I've got these, you know, bags, like big bags for all my big games, but then they all have these little pockets. I can shove all these other little games in there and take them with me and have them with me all the time. Like all these games I love and have fun with, I don't have to pick and choose so much, you know, because I can take a bunch of them with me because they don't take up a whole lot of space. But the con to that is that they're so easy to carry. I don't get to use all my cool bags that I've got, you know, to carry all these games in. And if you haven't picked up your bag from Board Game Creations, you should do that because she does fantastic work. Katya.
Yes, she
Ooh,
does.
call her out by name.
Uh-huh.
I like it. You're like, you do fantastic work. Nah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw her Mad Hatter she's working on, but
I did.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
the
I
same.
did.
awesome.
Badass.
Yeah, crossover, Bob. I'll be talking about portability. It's a huge one for me.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like,
it's in there.
it's like Tim says, like we love there's a game called Ahoy Kitten, and it's ridiculously fun, and it's just always in the bag because it's like this big. And why wouldn't you take that when you could bust that out, play it 2-3 times in a half an hour, and everybody's laughing their ass off? You know, it's a blast. So
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. All right. So my number 4 will be, in my experience, smaller box games tend to be cheaper, right? That's a huge pro.
Yes.
When I first got into the hobby, it was like sticker shock all over the place. A board game's $50. Go kick rocks, man. No way. No way. And now I'm like, $50. Well, that's not bad. You know, like I spent a lot more than that on board games. But the small box games tend to be between $10 and $25, you know, depending, you know, and sometimes cheaper and stuff like that. And it's like and I was just talking to West about this on the car ride along with a million other things, but it was cost per play, like the value that you can assign a game because of that. I've spent a ton of money on games that I've played 3 times. Don't get me wrong. I love them, but they're just harder to get to the table because they're big, they're complex, they're involved. But like I spend a little bit of money on a small game and I play that game like almost 100 times, you know? And so your cost, so here's my negative. Your cost per play then becomes like a negative, and then you've got the publisher like coming and knocking on your door like you owe me money because you've played this game down below the value,
Right.
and I need my residuals, and it gets real weird because it's like, how did you know where I live?
Tracks your BGG stats.
Yeah, it's why I don't do the app that often because I get really nervous because they send their goons over, you know, and then I got guys like Galen coming over, you know, I need my money. Hey, you played Ahoy Kitten. You didn't even give me any money for Ahoy Kitten. And now, you know, you play that game 40 times.
Yeah.
Listen, you got to pay up, man. So it's really awkward. I got people showing up at the house all the time trying to get money out of me. And my wife already doesn't want me spending money. And she's like, what do you mean you got to pay for games you already have? This is ridiculous. So it's a real problem. Cost per play on the small box, really good. Most until you get negative, then you just got to throw it away or give it away to somebody else because they'll start coming for you. It's a real issue.
They're coming right for us.
I took this list very seriously, guys.
All right. For my number 4, I think I'm actually going to switch around the order a little bit just so that they're neatly back to back. So I'll start with the cons again. There are unique challenges for publishers doing small box games. Specifically, first of all, if you're looking at percentages, the profit margins on small box games are pretty decent. It's not bad at all. However, it's still a small margin. You're talking about how much money you're making off of a $15 product, not an $85 product, not for $299. And so kind of using them to keep a business afloat is very difficult unless you're doing something like All Play is doing, which is,
put out 10 a year.
Games a year, have a backlog of 50 to 80 that you can sell. There's some unique logistical challenges. There's some specifically, well, and not even specific to Kickstarter, but around advertising, the whole idea of how much are you paying to get a customer to you, right? And if you're anywhere under the $20 mark, it's just about never worth it. So you have to come up with a way to make that work. And advertising is what makes the world go round in a lot of ways with board games. I mean, word of mouth is very important. Stuff like this is super important, but ultimately ads are really important. So there's some unique challenges with that, which, I'm attempting to solve with doing 4 at once, right? That's the whole idea. Hopefully, you come in because you're interested in a game and you walk out with all 4. It justifies kind of.
Well, as a consumer and a completionist, there's something to be said for I can just get this one game, or I get a deal getting all of them, and now I have all of them, even if I only play 3 of them, right? And then 2 years later, I'm like, why did we never play this one? Let me get it off the shelf. Holy shit, I've missed 2 years of not playing this game. Not that I've ever done that, but I've totally done that, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I bought up that All Play collection of games, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, that game was in that collection? Oh my gosh, that game's awesome. I haven't played that yet. So.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. I think, to go with the pros on the other side of that, there are a lot of advantages to the logistics on the publisher side. So they are cheaper to make. They are way cheaper when you're thinking about freight. When I'm thinking about, 1,000 of these compared to 1,000 of my 1,500 of my Super Sniper boxes.
For sure.
Big differences, cheaper shipping, cheaper logistics of, I don't have to send them from a warehouse to a con. I could fit them in my Prius.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things logistically that just make things simpler. I will say too, I've had, if any, publishers, designers are thinking about this, I had with the doing 4 at once thing, I've had some luck too. So a lot of, on the publisher side of things, so you have to think about your minimum order quantity, right, and what you're paying per game at that. And so most places the lowest you can go is 500, and if you're doing that, you're paying a lot per game, right?
You're not making any money.
Yeah, you're cutting your losses at that point, or you're doing it for other reasons.
Right.
that aren't about a successful business. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to get, in the 1,500s kind of bare minimum to really make it work most of the time. And what I was able to do with this as I was going around and getting quotes is I said, hey, listen, minimally I want to do 1,000 of each game, but I'm doing 4 games at the same time. What can we think about this as a 4,000 MOQ? Because we're going to be a lot of boxes, a lot of the same size cards, a lot of the same kind of components, and manufacturers were willing to do that. So I'm getting really good prices. I'm getting closer to that 3,000, 4,000 MOQ individual price, even though I'm doing just 1,000 of each game. Well, hopefully do more. We'll see how well.
And just wait till they get really mad when it's $1 million Kickstarter, and now you're like, well, I didn't know, but I need 1 million of them now. So sorry.
I'm sure they know their numbers. I'm sure they'll be happy, and I'll get a better price yet. So
right, exactly. So that's Hell yeah, that's awesome. That's the shit I love. Right. So yeah, thank you. Good. I love hearing about that stuff.
Good stuff. I will definitely have some stuff along those lines as well in here. My number 4 con, another limitation, is space reduces your opportunity to deluxify the game. With no size in the box, there's no minis, there's no metal coins, and there's no dual layer boards. And I can see Bob frowning.
I'll tell you, you ain't clean that though. I see that all the time.
There you go. But The pro to that is that small boxes are more likely to go straight to retail. This is because of the lowered cost of manufacturing and shipping them, but also without space to deluxify components. If
There
they
it is.
do go to crowdfunding, you typically don't have to worry about a whole bunch of add-ons. And look, I'm not underestimating the importance of crowdfunding, especially for indie publishers like Galen, like Parakeet Griffin, or like Third World Studios. But when I back a game, I want to set it and forget it. Personally, I like to know what I'm buying on day one. So there's no room to add 28 stretch goals for each day of the 28 days of the campaign when your box is 4x6 or your mint tin is 2.5 by 3 3/4. So
Yeah.
I like knowing what I'm getting right away when I'm backing those small games.
Let me just say, Mike, because your thing was so boring, I opened up Dice Clash while you were talking.
Let me repeat it. Nobody
And-
can hear me over you opening packages because it's so damn distracting.
I was just looking at the card. I was just looking at the card, like, because I hadn't opened Dice Clash beyond just the top of it and looked at some of the rules. But that art, god damn it,
He's so good. He's so
dude.
good. I love working with Blah. He's amazing.
And
He's a
Mike,
really good music owner too. Yeah.
Mike, I'm just messing with you. I just needed to make a
No,
crack.
but Mike was telling the truth though. We could all hear you opening that.
You're welcome. It was a tight lid. It was hard to open.
There was a
Well,
funny comment that popped up while you were talking to Polar Knight had said, "This is the perfect. I love this podcast. This is the perfect advantage of evolution of beard growth." Yeah, there it is.
We go to zero.
That's very true. We got Tim rocking the preteen beard down there.
Listen,
And also opening packages while Galen is trying to pitch his games earlier. So I'll defend him because he won't. He's the guest. He's not going to give Tim shit about it.
no, everybody should give me shit about it because that's their right as a guest.
But it's our duty as co-hosts.
At least it was his game I was opening.
Yeah, that's true.
I know.
Yeah,
Again, I'm giving you crap. But yeah,
No,
you
do
can't
it. It's good.
deluxify. You can't deluxify, but the good thing is at least you know if you're backing a small game, you know what you're getting if you're backing it. There's not going to be a ton
Mike,
of add-ons.
that's a good point. No dual layer player boards and
there's no room for that stuff. You're not going to get 30 stretch goals in that small of a box.
Well, and I'll say too, if a game is good enough, especially with mint tins, you just sell them another mint tin. Like, I loved Gate. I love all of Jason Glover's games.
Ooh.
So I bought Gates. He sells me a whole nother mint tin. It's
Dude. Let me see the art on those again, please.
Oh yeah.
I love dark art styles. Hence why I love John DeCompos's art.
It looks almost Shadowgate-ish.
Yeah,
that looks. You guys know Jason Glover? Then he does.
We don't.
Oh man, Iron Helm's probably the one he's most famous for. He entirely works off of the Game Crafter now. He does all crowd sales, and he's very successful. He's like one of the few people who's able to do that. But he does all his own art. The designs are great. If you're solo gamers, really good solo games, like some of the best. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, those look really cool.
Yeah, it was super dope.
Badass. Ooh, are we on to Bob's 3?
I think so.
We are. Well, you got your bifocals on, Bob?
So my number 3 is kind of like Tim's 4, where it's the price point. Typically they're cheaper.
Yeah.
And $10, $20, under $30 typically. And you get a lot of bang for that buck. And like the price per play, that's something that we've talked about for a long time. And it's super easy to get that down there. Like Tim was saying, some of these games that we've played 40, 50 times, like literally, your price per play, especially when you count the number of people that got to play, you're talking pennies, maybe,
if not negative, seriously.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's fantastic value. But my con would be that they're so cheap, you feel like you can just keep buying them, and then before you realize it, you've bought like 20 or 30 of them, and then that price to add up. And you're like, crap, I've just spent like $300 on small games. And
I'm failing to hear the con here, Bob. I don't know.
Dude, that felt like me. That felt like me at Origins. I'm like, I haven't bought that many games. Holy shit, where do those small boxes come from?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my pro and con there. It's kind of a little bit like Tim was, but
yeah, no, that's a really good one. So, okay, this was kind of alluded to earlier, but my number 3 pro, lots of gameplay in these tiny boxes, right?
Mhm.
I can already tell, I'm not just blowing smoke, but I can already tell that there's going to be I'm going to get really worked up playing a bunch of these games with either Bob or Mike or anybody else. I'm going to get really fired up. I'm going to have a lot of emotions while I'm playing them, and I'm going to have a really good time, and I can't wait. And a lot of tiny boxes are like that.
Yep.
Which is really cool because when I first got into board games, it's like, I need the Twilight Imperium, like give me the biggest freaking box, like, cause that's the one that's got all the value. And it's, and then I had to learn like, well, yeah, maybe you'll love that game, but you'll play it 2 times a year if you're lucky. Where the smaller box of games, it's like, Galen was talking about earlier, it's like, well, they're not intimidating. I can bring them out and people will, especially if people aren't as into the hobby as I am, they will be way more accepting of that small box, right? They're not going to feel as intimidated. Oh, that doesn't look near as daunting and stuff. But usually if you're smart about it, you can find some really badass games in like small boxes, which then leads to my con. And I find it really rude and insulting that, like, who do these small boxes think they are? I mean, these big boxes try hard. They fill these boxes full of all kinds of good stuff. And then you got this little guy. I mean, I'm a little guy, I get it. But you got this little guy coming out and he's like kicking their ass because he's getting played all the time while that big box is sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Like, what did I do? What? I got dual layer player boards. Where's their dual? They don't have dual layer player boards. They don't even have good dice. They just have regular little dice. They've got dice that look regular size in Mike's hands. That's bullshit. So that's a big con. It's pretty rude. It's pretty rude. Just
Tim,
saying.
Did you just call all big box games sweaty tryhards? That's what I heard.
Your words.
I'm calling Sam. I see that Fortress box. I'm calling Sam.
Oh shit! Oh no! Hide that. Don't see him. Don't tell him.
Have you guys opened up the Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs yet? Have you played with that?
I haven't.
There's a lot of dual layered player boards in there. It's kind of wild.
And that's like a little. That's a tiny little thing.
I didn't bring it with me, but yeah, it's not big. It's kind of amazing what they fit in that one. Although QR code rule book, so
Oh, it's disqualified. Doesn't count. If the rule book isn't in the box, it doesn't count. Just saying.
It has a rule book for like the intro scenario and then the full rules you have to. Which, if you play Gloomhaven, aren't that different. So there's some advantages there. But yeah. All right. Are we on me?
We are.
Okay. We're on number 3 here. Let's see. I guess I'll keep doing the cons. Actually, opposite of Tim's point, occasionally, again, this is not all games. Sometimes they're small boxes because they're just small games. They're just too light. There's not a lack of replayability. You realize that, kind of, you didn't think too hard about it because the price point, and then you play the game and there's just not much there, and you're going to put it away and maybe you won't feel too bad because whatever, I've probably spent that much on a coffee before. But that's my con, is occasionally they're just too light. They weren't able to make the most out of that little box. For my number 3 pro, from a design side of things, I love the design restriction of figuring out how to make a mint game. I think it is extremely helpful in terms of cutting out the fat and getting to the best, purest form of a game. It's just, Super Snipers, I'm super proud of that game and I love it to death, but it was also kind of, I did that thing a lot of first publishers do, which is the box got bigger because I put more stuff in it. And it changed everything. And I'm happy with how it is. But at the same time, there was kind of this, I can do whatever I want. And all that freedom can be a little bit dangerous. Whereas with a Mint game, it's, no, I got to figure out what components fit in here, and this has to go. If you have an idea and it doesn't fit, the idea is gone. You don't have to spend any time with it. You don't have to do 30 play tests. It's just out of there. So I think the ones that are well done, you'll find some really, especially the ones that feel like big games in small boxes, they're really streamlined rule sets, really well done, really very thoughtful use of components, not just tossing stuff at you there to have it, not components that don't do anything. There's never going to be anything that doesn't do anything in there. It's all functional, so and it's I think it's great as a publisher, but I also think just as a designer, and a lot of people, we talked about Donnie earlier. I met him. We were both through the Game Crafter, would do all these contests, and that was how I met him. He was doing a polyomino game about arguing a court case when I was doing Super Snipers, and we became friends over that and bonded over it. But these contests where you have hey, specific things, making a small box game or 1 or 2 player game or a game that fits in a mint tin, I think putting those boundaries on yourself is a great way to start as a designer, and sometimes you fall in love with those boundaries.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it's like when you hear about all of the inventions and technology we got when they're designing space shuttles, right? Because they've got to trim stuff down to make it all fit. And then it's like, oh, well, that's how we get like microprocessors and things like that, right? Because they've got to shrink it down and you get rid of all the excess stuff, all those limitations, all those restrictions. It's like why Star Wars, the first Star Wars is so good, is because he didn't have a huge budget and he had to get really creative and come up with like these interesting ways to actually show everything he wanted to show, right? And do as much as he could, which is why some people may not like the prequels as much, because nobody was there to tell him no, and he had all the money in the world to do whatever he wanted. Yeah. And it's like, oh, really? You had all the money and this is what you do when you did so good with no money before? Just saying, now, I'm not trying to piss off like a whole fan base, just saying limitations can really lead to some amazing creative things. So
absolutely.
Hey, look, Joseph Frederick is in here. And
we played We're Sinking at QSCon. Holy shit.
It was
so wild. It was wild.
You also probably did not know we played that on Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Oh, we did.
We did, because he posted about it. And I'm like, dude, we just played your game today.
Yeah. I played that Saturday night at QSCon with some friends for the first time and had it sitting around. And we went through our first Kickstarter together. And
I got to meet him at Gen Con. He was a very cool dude. I'm really glad. Yeah,
that was fun.
Yeah, Nikki was in on that game too. And yes, I'm not sure if that's Aaron or London or Christina, but you're right. That is the correct Star Wars take.
Yes.
Quick reminder, I beat him in that game by the tiebreakers. So.
Shut up, dude. Shut up.
Did you both sink or did you defeat the...
No, we killed the Kraken.
Kraken?
Yeah, it was our first time, so we went with, an easy difficulty monster.
Sorry, and Joseph, you are definitely invited, and we will make that happen. I actually, Mike and I and Bob, we just got to look at our dates, and I will make sure you're invited on the next slew of possible... Or get your pick out of the next
Send you
couple of dates.
Choices.
Yeah,
we'll have our people call your people.
There you go.
Which will be
yeah. Bad news. I'm our people.
All right, so this is kind of funny. We're gonna get into reverse crossover here, because some of my cons were some of your pros and vice versa. All right, so my number 3 con, again, is a limitation, and package size limits the amount of cardboard you can print. So therefore, many of these games are only cards and dice. And sometimes cards and dice automatically can mean the game is light or luck-based. Not always, but it can, and those cards and dice do lend themselves more towards luck-based games. I still enjoy them, but that can be a con for some people. My number 3 is that because games are luck-based and have cards or dice, they're easier to get to the table and easier to teach. All you got to do is shuffle a deck of cards or hand people some dice. And because they're easy to teach, the short play time, short setup time, those games are going to get played more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's a terrible thing, playing people's games more. That's just the worst.
Yeah, I know. I hate having all these small box games I've played like 50 times and these $100 games that I've played twice.
No doubt.
At least you got the play yours. No.
We're going to get to more of that later.
Yeah.
All right. Get out your binoculars because it's time for number 2.
My number 2, not to sound like a broken record, but like these guys said, the ease of teach. It's a great pro. Like, you bust it out, and typically they're much easier to teach, lighter on the rules, and less intimidating, for new people. So it's a great way. It's a good way to bring more people into the hobby and to, just get more exposure on it. And just people like, wait, what? There's games that are small like this that have like all this depth to them. Like that's awesome. But contrary to that, that means there's no gigantic oversized rule book that, we all love.
Bob hates a rule book that takes over the table when you open it.
Hate it.
Oh no, Bob,
Yeah.
I got really bad news for you, dude.
What's that?
Okay, bear with me for like 2 seconds while I open a package.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, listen to Tim.
Look how big this. Look. See, Bob, you're like, oh, look at this nice rule book.
Yes.
Look at this nice rule. Oh no, it's huge. It covers the whole table.
Look at the real estate that takes up.
Oh, dude, we were so close. We started so good, and then it just got out of control.
Yeah. No, I hate a large rule book though. You got a whole game set up, and it takes up most of the table. And when you're learning it, you got to have that big rule book out. And it's big, square, huge. It's oversized, and you're just like trying to read it. You can't set it down anywhere. Hate it. Little rule book like that. Plenty of table space for it. Love it.
So I think we need to get Mike like an oversized meeple to hold in his hand, and then we can tell people that's a regular size meeple, so they'll really mess with how big they think Mike's hands are.
Just hold it closer to the camera, Mike. It's all about the angles.
Hey guys, check out this shot glass.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, Bob, is it my turn? Are you good?
Yeah, it's good. But hey, I just wanted to respond to this real quick. For the record, I taught games very well over this past weekend, and I lost many of my teaching games.
Yeah,
so,
what Bob's saying is he lost a lot, and that's his bullshit excuse.
That's right.
I usually lose when I teach. I will also
we call that good teacher award.
That's right. Yep. I had to call Karen out because she was a bad teacher on a Fleet the Dice game, but it was still fun.
Oh, there you go. Nikki's buttering you up.
Thank you.
Okay, so we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but one of the great things about small box games, 99% of the time when they're done well, is they're very easy to learn. And again, that that means they're easy to get to the table. They're easy to teach to people that maybe aren't, hardcore gamers like us. But they could still have like a really satisfying level of play, in there for like the more experienced gamers. But again, people are getting turned off, by just this tiny little box and, that little rule book that folds out. And it's like, okay, not bad. And then there's all these like really crazy choices in there, and really fun stuff. And so I really think that that's awesome. I mean, we play everything from Lacerdas to party games, right? And I can literally say that because like our most recent video was a Lacerda game. And sometimes I'm down for the Lacerda, and sometimes I just want something that's easy to learn. New Zealand games,
by the way.
Oh, but did you win Good Teacher Award? So, if you're going to follow the trend of my pros and cons list here, right? So if my pro is easy to learn My con is, what do you think? I'm stupid or something? I can't learn a harder game. Of course I can learn a harder game. I don't need this easy game to learn. I can learn a Lacerda.
What is this, a game for ants?
Yeah, what do you think? I'm stupid or something? You're trying to insult my intelligence? I can totally learn and teach wrong a much harder game than that. I'll teach this game wrong too. Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. It's got 2 rules. One of them's going to be wrong.
I got a 50% chance. So yeah, that's my number 2. I don't understand why these games think I'm stupid. I can learn hard games. But it's really great to have an easy to learn, easy to teach game with that teach time, very small, right? Very low. Like on a serious note, I had some friends, their son got into board games and they opened up, and I will use this as an example because this is the one they said. They bought the Prospero Hall Funko Haunted Mansion game.
Okay.
I have not played it, but I've not played a Prospero Hall game that was difficult to learn. They're usually pretty accessible, right? I mean, because you find them in big box stores. They looked at that rule book that was more than 2 pages and were like, there's no way we're going to learn this game. Now, their teenager who's into board games, no problem. But people that, and I love these people, they're not idiots. They're very smart. But they see a rule book that's more than 2 pages. It's, they play euchre, what I mean? They play taboo, they play categories. But they got a rule book that's a couple of pages more than what they're used to, and they shut down.
Yep.
So again, the ease of teach and easy to learn is fantastic. But I'm really offended every time they think I'm stupid because I can't learn a harder game.
That's not why we think you're stupid.
Oh, fair.
Alan,
Okay.
Alan, great to see you too, man. Hope you had a safe trip all the way back to Costa Rica.
Yeah, it was really good. Alan played We're Sinking. Alan and his wife played We're Sinking with us.
Mm-hmm.
I was really glad to get to play some games with Alan.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been to Costa Rica too. That place is awesome.
Well, it's because Alan was there.
Bucket list.
Yeah.
All right, Galen, your turn.
All right, number 2. Starting with the cons, kind of flip side of what I said last time about too light, is sometimes the gameplay doesn't match expectations, where you'll get a small box game that offers absolutely massive, complicated experience that would have been better served by a full-size game and components. And I don't mean to pick on them too much. I like the Tiny Epic Games series. I like a lot of them, but some of them, dude, just make a bigger game.
I am with you.
And
I'm with you so hard.
Yeah, the latest experience I had with that, and again, I don't mean to pick on, I think it's a good game, but also, so with the size thing, it becomes more of this, wow, look how much they fit in there, which is great. But also, what was it? Tiny Epic Dungeons, man, the having to learn an entirely new language with the amount of iconography that they had on there, because you can't fit text on that size, right? And so it just made it very inaccessible, and it was kind of, it's almost like false advertising, a bit. I don't think small box games need to be simple, but that was like, it was just more than you would expect from that, which might be that might be a pro to some people, but I don't quite get that. There's a lot of them I like, but then some of them are overboard. While other times something like the Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, I think is great. First of all, it says Gloomhaven, so there is some expectation, like, okay, I'm getting into something heavy here. But they literally made it so the scenarios are 20 minutes, which for me makes me actually like the game more than Gloomhaven, because there's nothing worse than, playing for 45 minutes and not knowing you were doomed to lose the entire time and having to start a scenario. 20 minutes is like perfect for it. So I think that's my number 2 for cons. My number 2 for pros is, I think small box games have really created some accessibility for indie creators and people who want to kind of like go the self-publishing route, but don't necessarily either have the funds to do it, the time, the ability, that you just don't want to go all in. So there are some really, I'll use the Game Crafter as my main example. There are some people just putting together some really, really cool small box game experiences. And I've met some amazing ones out there. The guys from Crossbow Games, who I worked with on Dice Clash, put out a lot of good stuff. Jason Glover, who I mentioned earlier. My favorite solo game of all time is Doom Machine by Nathan Munier. I don't know if you guys have played this, but it's just perfect, just phenomenal. Really good solo game. And I think he did do a Kickstarter for that one. But a lot of these guys, they do this. They do the crowd sale. They're able to start at prices that are around $20, which isn't so bad, and they go down the more people that back it. And there's not a lot of profit or margin because it's made to order or whatever. But it gets you in the game. It allows you to kind of see something all the way through and do the art and make a product. And it's just the ease of kind of play testing these opportunities for crowdfunding that go beyond doing a Kickstarter, which is expensive to do. One of my friends in the board game space always says, when people are thinking about doing a Kickstarter, he's like, "Are you willing to drive a brand new Toyota Corolla into a lake?"
Right.
No, don't do a Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
and so I love the accessibility it does for indie creators. There's some amazing hidden gem games out there that you can get.
It's funny that you brought up the Tiny Epic, because my favorite Gamelin Games game is their biggest one, which is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Okay, yeah.
Fantastic.
I love that freaking game. And it's like, can you guys please just make games like that for me? Because you make them really well. The Tiny Epics are fine. I haven't played all of them, but the couple I played, they're fine. They're not my favorite, like small box games, but they're not bad. Galaxies might be my favorite one out of the ones I played.
Agreed.
But yeah, it was just funny you brought that up, and I was like, oh shit, I love I don't know. Some of it feels at risk of saying something negative about them, which they don't deserve. Is just some of it feels a little try hard for my taste, where it's like we're gonna keep one upping ourselves. And it's like, no, guys, you can just keep making like good games. Like you don't have to keep trying to, double down and like, add on. Like just keep making really fun games with unique themes, and you're set. But that's my opinion, and I'll get off my tiny little soapbox.
Your tiny epic soapbox.
My tiny epic soapbox.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like just make the game good, not small.
Yeah.
If the best version is small, great.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
But yeah.
All right, Rice.
So this is where I talk about the reverse crossover. So I thought that size restrictions would limit the creative space that designers have, and that would be a con, because small box games often are not as deep because you can't fit a big rule book. That's the byproduct of all of the previously mentioned limitations on my list. Smaller footprint, no board, no chips, no deluxification options. So there's only so much you can actually do with the rule set with those limitations. But I can see, being a designer, like you mentioned, Galen, that you embrace that challenge, and that's really cool. So it's cool to see how that's a pro for you. But yeah, I threw it on here as a con. So, but again, I like light games, so it's not like I think this is a subjective con. This was more of like an objective con for other people in the hobby, I think.
Absolutely.
And my number 2 we talked about, but size restriction makes games more portable. And that's a great thing, because as many know, I live for traveling and seeing the world. I live for planning trips like places to Ontario, the Finger Lakes in New York, Alaska, and maybe even Costa Rica in the future. So the option to take multiple small box games, throw them in a 3x5 photo container, which I do, or just tossing those boxes in my backpack, that just automatically makes me more interested in those games, knowing them I can take them on my travels.
Yep.
Great point. Also, check off Mike went to Alaska on your bingo card.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Thank you. Also, check off on your bingo card, Tim mentioning that I mentioned Alaska on your bingo card.
It's like the meta now. Boop, 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 boop.
It sounds like we're going to Costa Rica next year. I mean, I'm down.
Oh, snap.
I would love to go back.
What we should do is go during QSCon, so Island won't be in Costa Rica. We can just miss him.
No, I didn't say next year, but it's definitely a place I'd love to go.
Sorry, Mike. It's next year or nothing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Figured out, Nick.
Tell me what week. I'll pull my calendar up.
There you go.
And while you're pulling up your calendar, go ahead and pull up your microscope because we're on to number 1. I'm not letting go of the tiny.
I like how it changes each time. It's like, bifocals, binoculars. Now it's a microscope.
It's getting smaller.
It has to. Number 1.
Okay. Well, first, Costa Rica Con. I love it.
Dude, I could get my wife to go to that one.
Yeah, right? No kidding. Well, wait a minute. No. Someone's got to watch my dog.
Winston will love the beach.
Yeah. Let me tell you, he probably would.
I'm in for Costa Rica.
Before I get into my number 1, if you haven't yet, please hit the thumb or the thumbs up or down, one of them. We really appreciate it. Help appease the algorithm gods.
Please and thank you.
Love you
also check the links for Galen Games and sign up to get notified
when it launches.
For when it launches.
Amen. But number 1, it has kind of been mentioned already, but it's the fact that you can take all of this fun and put it in an itty bitty tiny box, and that's awesome. The fact that you can have, because I play all these big crazy games. I do enjoy them. War Room's in this big crazy box, and I've had some great stand-up moments playing that. But I've had so many laughs and so much good time and so many good stories coming out of small games that it's fantastic. Big fun, big laughs, small containers. It's awesome. It's great that that's able to be a thing. So. But then my con of that is not necessarily related like a lot of my other ones have been, is I do enjoy playing large, epic games. I've got a separate room with a separate table where I can leave games set up for days, where buddies will come over. We spend 2 or 3 hours, take a few turns, close the door to keep the cat out, and then come back a couple of days later, take a few more turns. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff. And I don't quite get that depth and immersefulness that I get out of the smaller container games. They're more of a, fun at the moment type of game, not a, overarching type of experience. And that to me is the number 1 downside to these smaller container games.
Well, yeah. How much fun did we have just a few weeks ago playing a 7-hour game? And
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It was a great, epic experience, big swings, big fun in that. But yes, it was 6.5, almost 7 hours, but it didn't feel like it, because
not at all.
That stuff. So
not at all. And there's no way you're fitting that in a tiny box.
Yeah, no, you might get like a half army in there. That's about it.
Yeah.
At least the pieces are small, wooden, thin things, so then I might get some of them in there.
Right. Okay, so my number 1 is the thing about the small box games right now is the board game industry goes through trends, right? For a while, everybody's making Vikings games, and then everybody's making dinosaur games, and then everybody's making roll and writes. Now, I think the trend is everybody's making these small box games. They're very hip. They're very popular. And I think that that's a good thing. I think, for all of the reasons, all of these pros that have been stated already, there's a reason they're very popular. And Galen makes a great point that I hadn't really considered, but it makes perfect sense, is they're very independent publisher friendly, because it's the lower cost to admission, right? They're cheaper to make. They're easier to maybe get people to take a chance on them because of the low price point. Cheaper to ship. They're very, they're affordable. They're, just all those amazing and great things. And one of the things I love about the board game hobby is its diversity, right? Like Bob and I can love these tiny little games as much as we love these 7-hour games. And so these games are very popular right now. They're very hot for a reason. And that's awesome.
Sorry, that screams to me that Will Ferrell and Mia Jovovich.
Oh yeah,
small box games. So hot right now.
They're so hot right now. So leaning into my Gen X, is I'm a hipster and I don't like
Not
stuff
to
that's
me.
popular. So I was into these small box games way before everybody else.
Right,
And
you
now
left me
that
for
everybody
the-
else is into them, I don't know if it's worth my time. Now, what'll happen is 5 years from now, I will admit like all of those games were really cool and I secretly liked them that whole time while everybody else did. But while everybody else is talking about how awesome these games are, I'm going to just shit on them from my pretentious perch and act like I'm too good for them, even though I'm secretly playing them by myself in my basement.
You know, Tim's beard doesn't really let on to how hipster he really is.
Oh yeah, super hipster.
Real quick, Joseph, I agree. That was my number 5, and I think a lot of people don't consider that.
That's
Less
legit.
waste.
That is 100% legitimate. But you know, everybody's into saving the environment right now, and that's really lame. So I'm totally against it. You're welcome, Jim. I put that in for you. Yeah, I was into train games way before everybody else. Or do you mean the band Train? Because I was into Train way before they had their hit song. So yeah, same thing. I was into that before you were. It was cool then, and now all their mainstream stuff just isn't as cool. So
Tim, also a Gen Xer over here. Did you see? It was either The Onion or the Hard Times. I think it was Hard Times, but the article was Gen Xers finally succeed in rebelling against society by becoming completely culturally irrelevant.
Yes. Yes. I love The Onion so much.
Yeah.
I live for it. That's so good, dude.
Or the Babylon Bee.
Yeah. Yeah, but The Onion did it first. I have collected editions of The Onion on a bookshelf because like of Onion newspaper articles.
Why are you wasting bookshelf space on that kind of stuff? Tim, you can put some more small box games.
I probably could. I used to go whenever I'd go to Chicago to go to a Cubs game, they'd have The Onion in those newspaper boxes for free. And I'd grab a couple copies to bring back home, but I'd always have a bunch for myself.
That's too fun.
Yeah, I love The Onion. So yeah, Galen, you already know.
Yep.
So yeah, and I am. They definitely. I'll just quickly say on the hotness thing. I wasn't the reason I got into it. I don't think they necessarily were when I started this process. But man,
no, I don't think so.
People are psyched. If I had
love that stuff,
for sale at Gen Con, I would have made a killing. Like so many people would have bought them.
It is seriously the trending, like super hot thing right now. Your Kickstarter, fingers crossed, is coming out at a great time because
No, I feel like I rarely feel like I catch waves, but that's what maybe so. Let's hope so.
Hey.
Yeah, no, it feels really good. The people I'm working with for licensing too, we're very excited about. So they're actually copies are going to Essen, and they're going to be shopping around for different language options and things like that as well.
Nice.
So.
And worst case scenario, you publish these games and they're very punk rock because they're actually really cool and nobody knows about them.
Even better if that's what happens.
You have the art for it.
So number 1. All right, it's going to be the same for both, and much of this has been covered, but size is going to be my con and pro. So for cons, those rule sets that you got there, the print's a little tiny, little hard on older eyes, right? Little tough there. It can be difficult to manipulate the small pieces. Mike's happy with his small hands, but not everybody has that. Moving around the pieces, things getting knocked around. They kind of, I think Bobby mentioned it, or maybe it was Tim, the lack of shelf presence a little bit, especially with the mint tins, like, hey, they look great this way, but when they're on their side, what are they?
What is that?
Who knows, So, things like that can definitely be a con. In terms of the pros, easy to store, easy to travel, set up and play at a variety of places, bars, airports, side tables, whatever. These, by the way, the final version will have PVC cards so that they're kind of bar proof is the idea.
Nice.
Now, and you can just rinse them off afterwards. From certainly from a publisher side, but also definitely from a convention selling side, the size is a huge boon, because I remember at Gen Con, people walking around, I did very well with Super Snippers. I had a really good Gen Con, but still there was that kind of deciding point. I mean, first of all, it's there's the price point, right? As soon as you get over $15-20, you have to think about it a little bit more. And then there's can I fit this in my car or in the airplane? Or are you going to, are you about to sell out? Because I want to come back, before I leave Sunday to see if I still have room. And there's all that. Whereas you've got room for this. Do you have a pocket? Like,
Dude,
right? Like, it just there's just no. It's that quick thinking kind of like, yes, I'll take it. It's
impulse buy. It lends itself to the impulse buy,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
It was like in the comments. If you left them by the registers at like a Barnes and Noble or a Target, you know, it's like, oh shit, I thought I bought Altoids. Whoops.
Which,
So
by the
two
way, you know,
things.
as making all my prototypes, I constantly am buying Altoids, and when I'm finished, you know, rinsing out the containers. And then
I love Altoids.
I always
So,
repurpose those too.
Yeah.
You say airplane. Do those things set off the metal detectors as you're trying to go through the airport with those?
That's a good question. Did I mean, I had to run them through, well, you know, whatever. When you go through the TSA thing, you have to run the backpack through the thing anyway.
Sure.
So I
Yeah,
certainly didn't try to go through the
oh
Those
shit.
are your cavity
Yeah,
search type thing. Yeah.
Now, just to be rude to our guest and completely destroy his con with no shelf presence, my response to that would be, what the hell are these doing on your shelf? They should just already be sitting in your game bag ready to go. Like,
yeah,
you don't need them in your shelf.
Well,
You don't need these on their shelf. Put them in your fucking bag and take them with you. They're going. You're
unlike
gonna play
Tim,
'em.
I have a constructive idea for the shelf presence. Have you thought about releasing like maybe a sticker sheet of all your games, and then you can put a sticker on the side of the tin, so when you stack them up, you could see a sticker on the side.
It'd have to be pretty small, you know.
Yeah, like a narrow one that goes underneath that lip right there.
They one of the hold on, gotta remember his name here. Yeah, that's right. Rob Sieb. He had released when he did his little mythical menagerie there on the Game Crafter. He made these little acrylic stands that you can assemble. They pack flat, but they kind of present them. And my top shelf is a bunch of those little stands with the mint tins on them. So they can make nice. They can have nice presents, but you just gotta get in case to it.
Yeah. So what you do is you include a QR code to print your own stands.
There you go, something like that. That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
You're welcome.
You
See,
know,
Bob, I had a good idea.
Well,
Yeah.
Ammon Anderson, he makes stickers for his Etsy shop.
Oh, he does.
He might be able to hook you up with
Okay, I'll check in with him.
some
That's a
stickers
good
that
idea.
you might be able to get on there.
All right.
A little
Like it.
collab with him. You know, the Gnome Hollow guy.
Yep.
I bought some stickers for Wonderland's War, not realizing it was him, and then we had him on our show, and then it all came full circle that
That's
back
neat.
during COVID, I had bought stickers from. It turned out to be his
And
Etsy
and
store.
he had mentioned, he had an Etsy shop to help kind of
Yeah.
make some money during COVID, and Bob bought from him.
Yeah, so that was cool.
That I had no idea he did that. So cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just another one of Bob's dealers.
That's right. I got both of them. Although they've been wondering where I'm at lately because I haven't been calling them. So
Get more stickers, man. You'll be good.
I know, man.
All right, Rice.
Do it.
Well, we talked about trends, and this is starting to change, and maybe this was the year of that change. But I still think that when it comes to like content creators, small games don't get enough love. And I think it's because they get slept on by a lot of content creators. And this is starting to change. Lighter games are becoming more prevalent, and approachability is becoming valued over 185 minis with 935 hours of content. But there are still some channels out there, some big channels, that rarely, if ever, cover small games.
Thank God we're a
review
small
them.
channel.
They don't review them. They don't put them in top 10 lists. They don't put them in all-time top 100 lists. It's like, oh, well, I can't compare For Sale to Brass Birmingham. I can. I personally would rather play For Sale over Brass Birmingham any day of the week. But, you know, that's not everybody. And the design limitations that produce higher luck games that are often card dependent are not revered in the same category as larger games by some people and some content creators. So with less coverage, this means that some more small games get slept on and they're not pushed into the public eye as often. But that is changing for sure, especially this year. I mean, there's publishers like Bezier that only put out small games this year, minus the blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. But everything they put out this year was a trick taker or a card shedding game.
Yeah. Sears catalog was really good by them, by the way.
Yeah, that
People
was
should check
excellent.
that out.
I can't wait to get my hands on Rebel Princess because now that I've played Xylotar a couple times, I'm really enjoying that one.
Man, I'm bad at that game, but I did enjoy it.
I like that one a lot. And then my pro we've talked about, but I'm a cheapskate. So my number one's lower cost. Lower cost means lower cost per play. It means lower risk, higher reward. I mean, I paid $20 for One Night Ultimate Werewolf 10 years ago, and I've logged over 200 plays of that game. So I believe at this point, Bezier actually owes me money for the sheer number of werewolf plays that I've logged. And it's like worst case scenario, if I don't like a game or it doesn't even get played, I was out what, 15, $25?
Right.
That's a bullet I'm willing. That's a bullet I'm willing to take just about any time. But when a game's over $100, now we're talking about a little bit of an investment. I need to do some research on whether I really actually want this game. But sometimes cool art, cool theme, cool mechanics, $15, throw it in the bag.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like Galen was saying earlier with the at Gen Con. There's so many times where
What's up, Eric?
I will be at a con and I'll be walking around and you're looking at games and you're like, oh, $50. Like I have to really want it or have heard like some really good things about it, you know, to want to drop that money on it. But then if it's like 10, 15, sometimes even $20, it's like, yeah, I could spend that pretty easy. No problem. Like that's worth a flyer. Cause, worst case scenario, if I don't love it, I just bought somebody a Christmas present. You know what I mean? And, you know, maybe they will love it because, you know, I will say, oh, I don't like this game or I don't like that game, but I try to never say that that's a bad game. I try to, you know, because somebody liked that game. Enough people like that game that it got published. But yeah, man, I mean, those are great points. Like Mike said, you know, the price point, you know, the value that's there, it's super important and it's really good. So
yeah. And even though I think the general public and maybe the consumers are starting to favor
what you're talking about. They're great hands. There's nothing wrong with his hands.
Amazing looking hands.
Grown men have cried at the size of his hands.
For different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think consumers are definitely pushing more towards the approachability, but content creators, I don't think as a whole have pushed towards that, and that Euro favoritism is definitely still there.
Yeah, because that's the cool thing to do, and that's why we don't do that.
But
also,
hey, we have said it more than once. If you want to know of a channel that covers everything, you're watching it. It's called Board Game Rundown. We did Lacerda's Speakeasy. That just got published yesterday. We're also the only channel that did an English review of 1%, a strategic game of chance. So we cover it all.
Yeah, we go from party games to Lacerda's. Yeah. I love that though, because that's the thing, right? Is Galen, I'm going to go on a limb and say you don't only play tiny, small games.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, you're talking about Gloomhaven. I mean,
yeah. I mean, my favorite game is Mage Knight. Like that's one of all time.
Whoa.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the first game I played where I thought about the fact that, hey, somebody designed this. Like, who the hell thought of this?
Well, apparently Vlada Travato,
who's my favorite designer. So,
he scarred you so badly that you went in the complete opposite with like the minimum amount of components and rules.
You waited until he came out with
thick and the font is small.
Yeah, I got some Travatos right behind me. I got my Dungeon Lords and my Dungeon Pets.
And he also made code names, which is brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's so good, dude. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah. Can you do not Pictionary, Pictomania?
That was
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't played it.
Yep, sorry.
I think it's fantastic.
Oh, Startups, Dave. Startups was fun. That was a very interesting take on like a stock holding game.
Right on. Oh, so you were in on that game, Mike?
Yeah, that was fun.
You didn't invite me? I see what's up.
Oh yeah, that was intentional.
I get it.
You know, on the small box thing, my favorite game lately to introduce people to is Dro Patal. It's an Oink game. It's translates to Ghost versus Palm Muscle. It's the weirdest name for a game. I wish I had it here, but it's the one where you got a little ghost meeple and you have a handful of trinkets. And you flip a card, and using just one hand, you have to drop only those trinkets and grab the ghost first. And so that's the base of the game. But the points in the game are these little tiny bells. So as you get a point, you have to add a little bell to your hand. Now it's a lot harder, right? And that
because you might accidentally drop your points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it's just brilliant. It's just such a good game. I've never not shown it where we didn't play it 5 or 6 times.
Oink is crazy, man.
Oink is really going to be bad for my wallet because there's a couple of their games and I just have to get. Yeah, so that's cool. I got to look that one up. I got to look for that one.
Yeah. When we were at that Millennium Games, I saw like 3 or 4 different Oink games that I didn't own, but I didn't pick them up, and I should because I've gotten 2 and I've loved them both. I should have just picked them up while I was there.
Well, the other thing though, right, is to have games that are really unique and cover sort of a broad spectrum and that do different things because you know, like I would say that, not to speak for you, Galen, but like we're kind of like omnivores when it comes to games. Like I love all kinds. Yep. I love all kinds, but not everybody that shows up to your house to play games or shows up to a meetup or a convention is an omnivore. They like these certain things. And me really liking being a good host, I love having all kinds of options. Like, oh, you like this, you like that, you like this. Bob loves options, but that's his dating profile. I'm going to tie this all in so you can check Tim Panders off of your bingo card. But like, these are all very different styles of games that you've got coming. Andrew, you can go to hell. I will actively do not eat vegetables.
Actively not. Right. I'm sorry, you brought me the food. My food eat. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I'm assuming potatoes are the exception.
Yeah, exactly. You are correct. Corn and potatoes. But no, I mean, I love versatility in games. I think as I've gotten to know like publishers and designers and stuff, I love it when you get to watch them. When you watch them sort of diversify and expand and just all kinds of different games, right? So it's like
3WS is definitely like that.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And listen, I'm in the bag for them because I'm friends with Mike and I love them and I'll support them no matter what, because just amazing people behind it, but their games are so different. Mm-hmm. You know, Eric, that's in the chat, Eric Bettinger, like they designed a game that is going to come out from 3WS and I cannot wait to see, because I got to play it in that prototype stage where we're still, you know, tinkering, and it was super funny. Oh yeah, Cannibal, thank you. Mm-hmm. Let me just explain this to Galen real quick so he understands that I'm not actually a cannibal. So we did a top 5 list, which was top 5 food games.
Okay.
And me, as you can see, I take my list very seriously and I don't like to have any fun with it. I picked all games where people were the food.
Okay. Right.
And have since been branded a cannibal for that. Just
Correct.
saying. Not saying I don't deserve it. I'm just saying that's why it happened. But yeah, Eric from KB Games, they've got an awesome game that I cannot wait. I don't know how much we can talk about it, Eric, so that's why I'm being vague, but it was super fun. And it'll sort of be in that mission control universe.
Okay. Cool.
Which is why I know Corey and Donnie. No, thematically, but it's why I know Corey and Donnie because of mission control. We played that at Gen Con and immediately became like really big fanboys of it. Well, at least
they
me.
did a great job of that. Yeah.
And it was super fun. They had this great booth experience, you know, when they had like the easels, like an oversized game boards you could play on.
Oversized version of it. That was awesome.
Yeah, they had a heck of a setup.
Opposite of small box.
Right. Yeah, but their box isn't that big.
Right. The game itself is small.
No, but they made the huge version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super good.
That's
But
funny.
one of the things I love about this hobby, and they tend to like just they're one of the reasons is so many times I get to play these games from these, these independent publishers, and these designers and stuff. And all these dudes are just awesome. And I love them and I just want to be around them all the time. So it's like, Galen, you've been a really good sport like all night. I knew we'd click. You already, when I knew you were friends with Googs, I was like, well, we'll be fine. Because there's nothing that I'm going to say or do that's going to cross a line if you know Mike, because he's probably already pushed any boundaries that I would have come close to.
I think of him as an absolute sweetheart. I've never.
Oh, he's the best. He's the best.
Very nice guy. Yeah.
But yeah, no. But I'm always really grateful when designers, publishers can come on and be themselves, feel comfortable, because I like supporting people that I get to know as people, and and you're not just the name on the box.
Absolutely.
It's kind of different when you see their face, and you know them and you get to talk to them a little bit, and it's like,
Speaking of which,
Hey, buddy.
there's our resident lurker.
He's our lurker. I cannot
He might
get
not
Donnie.
the whole time.
He might not say anything all night, but he's probably there.
I can't get Donnie to come on the show.
Really?
He won't do it. I'm sure it's me and that I'm the problem. But I love Donnie.
To say something, but he pulled me aside. And he's like, I don't come on the show because of Tim.
I believe it, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Weird, Bob. You also got pulled aside.
Donnie appears if you say his name 3 times. I love it. But no, I just love it because when I got into the hobby, even before doing content creation, it's like it's like board game designers were like actors in movies, where it's like, oh, they're doing this amazing thing and it's so cool. And then you get to meet a few of them and they're just like, oh no, we're just dudes that, we're just people. And
it's true in everything, right? It's all just people. But
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I love getting to meet the designers and play games with them and see them get excited about new games, and then see them get excited when people are enjoying their games. You know what I mean? Like all that shit. It's so good. I love it. It's so good.
Oh, I'm trying to figure out if my dog got skunked.
Oh boy.
But I have a fenced in backyard. It's a wooden privacy fence. So, I guess a skunk could get back there, but ooh.
Are you sure that dog didn't get into your stash?
No. That would have been more possible when we were in Ithaca, where it smells like that everywhere you go.
We got Jason from Board Game Mechanics.
Hey.
There's a good dude.
Yeah.
He won't admit it, but he's an awesome dude. He and his wife have a really nice podcast. Board Game Mechanics. Check them out. We lost Bob. I'm assuming he's letting Winston out. So Galen, while Bob's gone, real quick, just off the cuff, what are some of your favorite games to play? Like, just so people get an idea of your style.
Sure. So as far as playing goes, like I said, Mage Knight's my personal favorite.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that really kind of, to this day, it's just one of the most satisfying experiences. And honestly, is probably best as a solo game. I really like that one a lot.
Plays faster that way, for sure.
Coming into the hobby, my wife is really responsible for me being into board games. I had, this big card player, a lot of euchre in college, things like that, and the basics. And then when I started dating her, she introduced me to Dominion, Race for the Galaxy.
Oh, so we need to thank her.
Small World. Those were all the kind of games. And I just just understood how big the hobby was and how cool board games were. So Dominion, don't play a lot of it anymore, but still up there as a favorite, as a very meaningful game. I love Game of Thrones living card game. Second edition. We went deep on that. Like I own everything on that. Summoner Wars. I can't skip Summoner Wars. That was the first game.
Mm.
I bought everything there was to have with the first edition, and then they made the second edition, and I still haven't caved in. But I play the digital version, and I admit it's better. But I've invested like $500. And
listen, I get it. I get it. Sometimes you're like, look, I'm already in on this. I can't go.
I'm big on two-player head-to-head competitive games. Dueling style games are really that's the stuff I love. That's the main place where I play in design. I have designed larger player accounts, but that tends to be where I stick with that. And as a publisher right now, just what I'm, focusing on as well. So, newer ones, Splendor Duel was fantastic. I love Splendor, but man, Duel was so good.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, that's a good point, Nix. We 2 weeks ago we had Andy Kim, the designer of Spill, on the show.
Mm-hmm.
He kept talking about how a lot of his great ideas came from his wife.
Yeah, she's like, you should make a game out of this. And he's
Okay.
like, oh, I should. No, that's awesome though, because and I think designers really, obviously, creatives, they do a lot better when they create for themselves and not for other people. Like, I'm going to make the games I want to play, right? I would even say selfishly, like I try to create the kind of videos that I would rather watch and find entertaining, right? So designers make games they want to play, and then guess what? They end up turning out to be usually pretty good because they're excited and they put a lot of effort into it. And it's like, oh yeah, other people like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's true. I think, it's interesting. Game design is a very unique art in terms of the way that iteration and play testing play into it. Like, there's a lot of other things. Music, you really can just sit in your own world and then put it out there, and people like it or they don't, and and you can live like that. You can do that, and it can still be good music. And I think with game design, there's this, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how good a brain you've been blessed with. You cannot just simply create a game in your head. You have to play test it. You have to put it on a table. You have to have people move things around. You have to see if it makes sense to them. And there's that thing is just such a beautiful part of it. Like, I love the ideating stage of it, and I love coming up with things, but the real work of game design is in kind of playing it with other people, letting people mess with your baby and tell you how terrible it is, and then make it better and better. And it's such a cool process. But starting with something that you'd want to play is absolutely huge. I have zero desire to just kind of chase trends or say I've got to make a trick taker now because that's what people are doing or whatever. I like trick takers. There are games I like that I don't want to design. There's music I like I don't want to play. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. But that's the smart approach. Do you have a game that you were like in your brain, you're like, this is gonna be awesome, I can't wait to make it, and then it just got wrecked and you haven't gone back to get it out yet?
Many times, yeah. There's been a lot of stories, but I always joke. So I my whatever is my white whale is making a really great mech game. That's the thing I really want to do. And my Dropbox is about out of hundreds of folders, 30 of them are Mech Game 2, Mech Game 2021, Mech Game 2021 Part 2. I just I get somewhere, I get excited, and I just got to break it back down. So I am working on a mint-sized Mech Game, which I think I will actually finish.
Oh snap! Let's go. Let's go.
Again, keeping it simple helps. Whereas that actually, in my mind, the movie that made me want to do it was Pacific Rim. Actually, so
love that movie.
Two things, yeah, fantastic movie. So two things combined that I want to get. So way back, and it's very niche, but the original Xbox had a game called Steel Battalion. Anybody know of this one? With a massive controller, and you have the foot pedals, and it's to this day the best mech simulator there is, because you're actually having to manipulate all this stuff, and I love it. It's so clunky, but that is the feel. That's like what it would feel like, and so that combined with Pacific Rim, where there's two people that have to coordinate to drive this thing, just sounds like the most fun in the world to me. And so at some point I'll figure out how to make that a game.
You almost if you haven't played Sky Team, you almost need to figure out how to take Sky Team because that's a 2-player co-op game. Mike and Bob hate it, but they'll come around and they'll learn to love it.
A lot of people love it. I haven't played it yet.
It's actually like one of their favorite games. I'm just giving them shit.
True story.
But if you could find a way to have it to where 2 people are trying to cooperate to pilot this damn thing, you know what I mean? And that could be a really
It's a great suggestion. I should check that out. Maybe
because then you get your Pacific Rim sort of tie-in, because that was sort of the cool thing about, for me, that I thought with like Pacific Rim, sorry, going on a movie tangent real quick, was it was so unique to that, right? As anybody gets in a mech suit, you know, and they run around and they do all the cool stuff, and that's amazing. But like Pacific Rim added that really cool twist to it. And it made all the mechs like even better and really cool. And it provided like all these amazing visuals. And again, added these extra problems, which then you had to design, you know, they had to design around, you know.
I left that movie immediately thinking about making a game about it.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I left that movie going. What'd you say?
57 plays of Sky Team.
Wow. Okay.
Like I said, you hate it.
Yeah.
I think I have 7 plays of Sky Team.
You include BGA, don't you, Bob?
Well, I know I downloaded them that one time. Now I don't know if it just keeps like uploading my plays that we keep doing, but I know there was one point in time that it was like, "Oh, would you like to upload your plays?" And I said yes. So like I said, I don't know if it continuously does that. I have to actually, you know, go back and look to see if it keeps doing that. But I have done a lot of physical plays as well. So
it should include all of your BGA logs. I just looked real fast. 54 games of Sky Team just on BGA. And then I'm up to 31 in-person games on it. So it's getting pretty stupid. I love that game.
All right, I gotta check it out. It looked amazing on the table. I saw it on
so good.
I've listened to some podcast reviews. I forgot to mention one other game I should mention that I play the hell out of is that Star Wars deck building game.
That's really good, dude.
So really good. They just nailed it. You really get the feel, man. We put the Star Wars music on in the background, and it just like that Game of Thrones living card game does. It just nails the feel. Things happen, and that, you know, it feels like something the Empire would do, you know, and it's
was really tempted to pick up the Clone Wars expansion. The first time I saw it in the flesh was at Millennium Games on Sunday.
Okay.
That doesn't include the sleeves, so it'd be hard to add them together without unsleeving. You know, if you have you know, the original version came with some sleeves that say Star Wars on them. And so if you wanted to buy the newer one, it doesn't come with the sleeves. You have to either unsleeve if you wanted to combine them, or, you know, buy some new sleeves that are generic and just mix them all together.
Did they Kickstarter or something? Because I bought it at retail. It didn't come with sleeves. So.
No, I think
the first run came with sleeves.
Okay.
So I think it was one of those things where if a brick and mortar ordered, I think it was like a deal with brick and mortars, like they order, you know, X amount. If you pre-order, hey, we'll give you sleeves to sell with your first, you know, 30 copies or whatever case, you know, whatever comes in a case of them. I think it ended up being that kind of deal. But yeah, no Kickstarter or anything like that. It was Fantasy Flight, went right out. We just got lucky because the game store that we film at had them with sleeves, and I'm like, I'm buying them with sleeves. Like I was gonna buy that game anyways, but it's like, holy shit, they have sleeves. I gotta buy it now.
Sick.
But yeah, really awesome game.
Very satisfying. Very well done.
Yeah. I love the whole idea of the cards face towards your side, but you can kill the cards for the other side and clear the market out.
It was fun too, you know, with and what I love about 2-player games is I almost, you know, I play with my wife and my sister are my main, you know, opponents, and the way that kind of meta develops over time. That early on we felt the rebels were way overpowered until one of us figured out how to really play the Empire well, and then it felt the other way, and it just goes back and forth and feels very even at this point. And yeah, how smart of a design it is shows through for sure.
It's really brilliant. I love that game. Yeah, because you know, I cut my teeth originally playing like Hero Quest,
in the early 90s. Then played a lot of Warhammer and Magic the Gathering because I needed like 2 holes to throw money down at the same time. Then got into role-playing games.
Throwing
awesome.
money down the holes.
Throwing money down, just like Mike's Trump hands. Dancing. But then, I was like, oh, you know what? I'll get into board games because I won't spend as much money on that as I'm spending on Magic cards.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. No, I love it. But the hobbies, the awesome thing is, because at the time, I mean, role-playing games were still a little taboo and, not as cool. But the board game hobby, everybody was so cool and open and inviting. And now everybody's into role-playing games again. And it's like, man, where were you guys like 30 years ago when I was doing this stuff in my basement and getting pushed into my locker because I had D&D or Deadlands books, like sticking out of my, book bag. But whatever, man, I'm happy. I'm just really glad that, it's a very cool thing to do and people see the benefits. We talk all the time about it doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter what game I'm playing sometimes if the table is a good table. If I'm sitting at a table with like fun people and the game sucks, who cares? We got an awesome story to tell. We're like, oh my God, we played this game and this, and oh, it sucks so bad. And we were all miserable. We're so glad when it was done. Who cares? We got an awesome story out of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And even better when you play a good game, because then everybody, is all worked up.
He's enjoying it.
Yeah. Because, I used to play a lot of, now I grew up in bad neighborhoods, so we played spades. We didn't play euchre. But it's the same game, really. Just spades are always trump versus changing. And my excuse for not playing euchre was spades was easier to keep track of while you're drinking. So you always knew what trump was.
Got pretty good at euchre.
Yeah.
Spades use the whole deck too, though.
It does. So you also don't have to remember what cards to take out. You just bust out the deck. Spades are always trump. Let's go. And then everybody is just indulging on whatever they prefer while we sit around the table and play cards all night.
Yeah. That, with the whole, it's probably waning at this point, but the explosion of trick-taking games, I think the fact that so many people have played, spades or euchre or pinochle or whatever, and just the idea of like, oh, check out all these variants on it, has been amazing. That's been a lot of fun. That's been a good introduction for a lot of people. The Inside Job and The Crew are 2 games I often will introduce gamers, new gamers to get them further in.
For sure, because then you barely have to teach, right? Because that's a lot of times that's the barrier to entry is how long is it going to take me to learn this game? And if you can say you've played euchre, right? And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm going to add 2 rules and we're off and running.
Yes.
And you're going to get it. It's going to click. And it's such an amazing way to bring people in. It's such a great way to bring people in.
Absolutely.
This is actually kind of funny you brought this up. So I hadn't played euchre in a while, and it was me, Brandon, Nikki, and Matt Paquette, and we're playing euchre. He came over and was recruiting people, and I'm like, you know what? I'm good for a game of euchre. I haven't played in a while, and very much a Midwest game. But there are Canadian variants that I had no clue about. Now, I'm very familiar with some of the Ohio rules because I have family over there. Like they play Stick the Dealer, they play Partner's Best, where if you call a loner hand, your partner can give you their best card. Well, apparently, and this is officially on the euchre.com website. I looked this up because Matt told us about this rule. If you tell your partner to pick up the card and make it trump, you have to go alone. I've never, ever heard of that rule, but that is the only way that apparently they play in Ottawa. And this is called the Canadian variant on euchre.com.
If you tell your partner to pick it up, you have to go alone.
Correct.
Man, Canadians
Never.
seem so nice, and then they just stab you with that maple syrup flavored knife.
Hold on. The Canadian all nice thing. Have you driven in Toronto lately? I was getting honked at before the friggin' light was green even. I'm like, you guys are supposed to be the nice ones. What the heck is going on here? The light's not even green yet, and you're honking at me already.
True story.
They
At
see
least
that
they're
Indiana
kind.
license plate. They're like, fucking Americans are in here.
Yeah,
Like,
come
this is
on.
terrible.
Just go. Yeah.
That happened like 3 different times.
Yeah. Crazy.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, it's not
But
even
no,
green.
to Galen's point though, right? I mean, it's so much easier to teach games to new people if you're like, if you even know game X, I'm going to teach you Y. They're cousins. They're very close cousins. Let's go. Now, the opposite effect sometimes for me is I love trick-taking games. So when I play one that I don't click or jive with right away, sometimes have a more negative reaction to it because it's like, I love trick-taking games. And then you play one and you're like, oh, I don't like this. And I think it's because I set my expectations a little bit higher. But at the same time, I'm the kind of person there where it's like, if there's newer people at the table, I'm going to play whatever they want to play, and they will not know if I love or hate the game that they want to play, because I'm just happy they're sitting and playing a game at the table. Like, let's go. Bring them in. So very cool.
We'll have to, if you're into trick taking, I have one sitting on my shelf because it's 3 players plus, which most of them are, but it looks a little bit more complex, but it looks interesting, called Tolerance. Have you seen this one?
No.
Thematically, it's about like, the Protestants and the Catholics, taking over the thrones of England at different times. Like, thematically, it's very weird. The art is very cool, like medieval art, and it just sounded like a really crunchy, complex trick taker that looked like a lot of fun. Yeah, here you go. Right, you're right. It's got the Hermanus Bosch art.
That is Hermanus Bosch art.
Yeah,
like how
which you can't beat. Yeah. So no, I was sold on the art. I got it just
game?
as the art, but yeah.
Like you,
cow.
Galen, I would have bought that game just for the art.
Yep.
Like, I don't even know what this game does.
I backed it, and I haven't had a chance to get to the table yet. I haven't had the right crew for that, so I wanna try that one out.
Wow, are you sure this isn't a GMT war game?
No doubt.
Wow,
100%. Yeah.
This is a trick taking game. Crazy.
When did that come out? Oh, it's interesting.
Said
Last year, the year before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love games with like crazy, unique themes, and really, just give me something that's out there every once in a while. Man, that's
I wonder if
on
Arcs stole anything from that, right? Because Arcs is like one of the new trick takers games, and
I got to play that the other night. Yeah, that was.
We didn't care for it as much. I mean, well, the problem, like trick takers and anything dealing with cards, you get too suited, you can really kind of get screwed. If no one's leading what you want to play, if you don't have access to the resource you need, you're just out, and that can be really feels bad. So we played it like 3 times, and a lot of hours into it, and we put a review on it. And Bobby were well, you should have kept playing it until you had a better game. It's like, okay, we only have so many hours to dedicate to this. It's like, we played it. This is our take on it. Take it for what it is, or you can leave it. But yeah, it's probably
I played it once
online. Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah. I'm undecided on it. It seems like it's potentially brilliant, and it seems like I also have that feeling. At times where I just had nothing I felt like I could do with my hand, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's a clever design, but also at the same time, I don't know that it's always fun to play.
Yeah, I think it needs a little more mitigation.
There are just some times where you can just get brutalized, not just by the luck, but also by the other players at the table.
Yeah.
And if both are happening, you're like, well, all right, I lose. It can be really rough.
The options you have for stealing the lead, the way you can always play anything for at least one, there's some mitigation in there. It is interesting, but yeah.
But you can put anything for one of the lead card. If nobody's leading the suit you want, and you don't have any in your hand, you can be kind of screwed. And other people could just be playing their one card for one action to attack you and take away your resource that was going to give you, the ability to take that prelude action, and then you're in big trouble. And
now, I've never played this, but is there any room for bluffing? Because it should be like you could play a card face down, and then they call BS on it.
Oh, it's totally that card.
Yeah, but if you flip it and it is that card, well, now you get like a double benefit.
When you play it face down, you're using it to copy what was led. So if somebody leads what you want, you can play one face down and copy what they lead. But if you're trying to be aggressive
and it doesn't have to be
and nobody's leading aggression cards and you don't have any, you're not attacking if you don't have a missile. If you don't have access to that resource. So it can be pretty feels bad sometimes.
Well, it's also different if that is a game that only takes like a half hour, 45 minutes.
Right, that's fine. It is what it is.
Feel bad moments.
2 hours dedicating to.
That's a long time to have a potentially, not every time, right? That's a long time to commit for being hosed by cards the whole time.
And yeah, I don't know. I won't argue for it. I've only played it one time. So I will say that people are very split on it. There's love and hate for it. It was hot as hell at Gen Con. I saw it on everybody.
100% was. Yeah.
That's why I picked it up, because it was so hot. I was like, I better check this out.
There's definitely some neat things going on there. The trick taking is simply, one mechanism among many. It's definitely, I wouldn't call it a trick taking.
The scoring, very unique. I really enjoyed the way the different scoring things work. You can only score if you take that action, and you're going to pick what's going to be scored. And I really did enjoy that. But like I said, the two big things that I like to do was the recruiting the cards, right? Like putting out the envoys and recruiting those, and then the aggression and being able to attack. And those are only on a couple of cards. And if you the aggression is only on the one card. And if you're not dealt that suit, sorry about your luck, and you better have access to that resource. Otherwise, you're not taking any of those actions this chapter, and it can be unfortunate. It really
did like the combat dice system a lot too. I thought that was pretty cool. That was very
but see, I'm a big axes and allies kind of guy. So I want to attack and a defense roll. So I'm just rolling one set of die, and that dictates what happens in combat. It's just okay, sure, it's streamlined, but I don't know. I'm getting attacked. I want to defend myself. I don't want you rolling my defense.
It does feel better in a game like that, where you at least feel like you've got some control over it, right?
Even though it's still random, I'm rolling the die.
Yeah, it's the illusion of control at the
illusion
very
of choice. It's like our voting system.
You are picking which dice to roll, so you're picking what could possibly happen, and you're
sure when you're attacking, but when you're being attacked, you're just
you have no choice. That's correct. Somebody in the comments had brought up Brian Boru too. I was introduced to that last year. That is a weird one, man. That is it's true. Yeah, everything there is correct. You're thinking, well, like any of the good, takeoffs of trick taking, you're thinking about a lot more than simply taking the trick, right?
Have you played Schadenfreude?
No.
So it's a trick taking game where you need to come in second. So as you're playing and you're going around, you need to come in second every time too.
That's the kind of stuff I love. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really good. I played that at Gen Con this year. Really enjoyed that. So, like anything, right? When it's a mechanic, an appealing mechanic or design, and it clicks, awesome. And when it doesn't click, it's almost twice as bad, because it's I should really like this. Why don't I like this? At least for me, which is why I did not like Cat in a Box. I cannot make my brain work around Cat in a Box. I know that is a really well-designed game that I will never play correctly, because I can't not try to win the trick the way that
every time. Yeah,
the way that my brain tells me that I need to win the trick, and that's not how you play the game or win the game. It's not how you play the game effectively.
Yeah. There's a lot of games that and this one might fall in that category where it's I really like appreciate the design. I think it's really clever. It makes me smile, but I don't actually want to play it again. You know, like it's not.
Yeah.
Am I actually having fun? I'm not sure. Like Skull King, I am having fun.
Oh my God, I love that game.
Love that game so
I have
much.
worn out copies of that game.
Oh,
Yes.
it's good. You know, yeah, it is you are having a good time. So mean, such a mean game.
So it's
I
the
love it.
best.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's probably my favorite of the trick-taking games.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
I got that Winston in. Oh, look. Hi, meow.
Oh. Cat attack.
Can I help you?
Yeah, she's not gonna let you go. Well, we're I mean, you know, we should stop taking up Galen's time. Oh, thank you, Chris. I feel so much better. That's not just me. But
Cooled on that one a lot.
this was an awesome list idea. I'm really glad that we kind of like
Cool.
got to take it and kind of run with it in unique directions. There's a really huge benefit to the small box, you know, sort of category in the hobby. And I think it's very easy for the more grizzled, you know, veteran gamers to dismiss them out of hand because it's not that, you know, regular box size 0 or larger. And you go, well, you know, there's no point in that. Like, no. There's a lot of point to that, and they're really important. And then again, what they do for as far as being like ambassadors to the hobby and like helping bring people in because they feel more accessible. Where a game with like a 5-page rule book may be mostly pictures and not that hard to learn, but somebody that doesn't play a lot of board games pulls that big, thick rule book out of there, and they're like, oh my God, you know, and you can pull like a small box rule book and it fits on like 2 or 3 cards. And they're like,
back in the day when you had to have the rule book on inside the box lid, otherwise.
Oh shit!
I
remember that. I remember that. London, choose for yourself. Play it and decide for yourself. I can't play that game well, and it really frustrates me. Yeah, well, you got terrible taste in games.
Do I though? Because you like a lot of the same games I do.
It's super clever. It's super clever. It's super interesting.
It is.
I just don't actually like. It's probably just not coming back to the table. That's all. I don't know what that's.
I love trying to force people, you know, into those anomalies. I think it was or paradoxes.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not necessarily trying to like run your hand out. You're just trying to make it so somebody else can't play. And to me, that's very interesting.
Yeah, and cool. I can't make my brain not go, I need to win all these tricks.
I know.
So that's my problem. But anyways, this show was awesome. Galen, I hope you had a good time, man.
I had a great time. Yes, that was fun. Yeah.
We unfortunately this means we are going to ask you to come back on the show at some point in time and hang out with us again because anybody that is you know, pretty cool, we then punish them by wanting to
well, now you gotta come back.
Them. It's like feeding a stray. We just keep coming back. We're like, oh, hey.
I look forward to the previews and review. I'm excited.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. I'm really excited these landed here. They look even better than I hoped. And it's really funny because I thought I was going to be most excited to play Monster Mashup. But hearing you describe the Heritage Farms, like the puzzle behind that, like, I think this is going to be the first one I play.
All right, cool.
I really want to crack this bastard open and get into it. But they all sound great, awesome, and we will be talking about them. You'll see them on the channel. We're going to have a QSCon show, like just talking about stuff that happened to QSCon coming up. That's worth its own show. And we didn't want to overshadow what Galen's got going on just to talk about QSCon the whole time because we could have. But so we've got a link in the chat in the description. If you're at PAX, I think, is that going to be the next show you're at?
Yeah, PAX will be the next one. Yep.
So go find Galen at PAX. You can find Super Snipers now.
Chris, to answer your question, right here. Right here is where you can find them. And ding, right there. Also will be in the description of the video. Right on cue.
Kickstarter is October 22nd, so we're just about a month away.
And we
Awesome.
will remind people. So
Always appreciated.
no, man, no, it's exciting for us because we get to shout about the games we're excited about and the people we're excited about, and we use our tiny soapbox to do that. We get Mike's tiny hands because that makes our soapbox look bigger. He puts it down.
Correct.
And
Those
then I get
Minton
out there.
games are huge.
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody take a shot to that.
But man, thanks for being a good sport and putting up with our shenanigans tonight.
Thank you guys. That was a lot of fun. I had a good time.
But it was a really
Yeah,
good
thanks
time.
for coming on.
Yeah, I got to go be somebody's therapist in the morning. So
No
you
shit.
know.
Right on, man. That's good. They're better for it. Do you guys have anything to add? Is there anything we missed or should mention before we wrap up? Because I want to make sure.
No, don't think so.
Uh-uh.
All right. Well, thank you everybody that watched. Like Bob said, smash that thumb, like, subscribe, do those things. Sign up for Galen's Kickstarter so you can get that heads up when that goes live. It's about 3-4 weeks from now. So, I mean, it's coming up real quick. So for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
I was Bob.
I'm Galen.
I was Mike, and for those without their contacts in, this is me waving bye.
All right.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right.
There we go.
We'll see you guys.
Good
next
job,
time.
Stonemeyer.
A 7.3 repeating. Heating.